Good evening and welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting this evening on October 20th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Legislator Elner to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery.
Present.
District 2, Legislator Goulman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adenizio.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Russo.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Elner.
Here.
District 6, Legislator Yonke.
Present.
District 7, Legislator Birmingham.
Here.
District 9, Legislator Crawley.
Present.
District 8, Chairwoman Silver.
Present. Thank you. Next, I'll move on to our proposed committee changes. And I will start with the Chairwoman Adenizio for the Health, Social, Educational, and Environmental Committee to present the proposed changes. Okay. So I will just start with number one.
So item number one is Office for Senior Resources, which is OSR, chargeback for the copier lease.
Thank you, Legislator Adenizio.
I'll second it.
Did you want to make a motion to pass?
Oh,
Or do
sure.
we
I
have
thought
discussion?
Or were
We
you,
have to add it to the, okay, so we're going to
Tony's
make-
was the motion, mine was the second?
You
Is
made
that
a
correct?
motion, Tony?
No.
add it.
I don't think I did I? No. I don't remember hearing. I didn't think, no.
No. So you can make a motion to add this to our,
Okay, I make a motion to add this to the agenda. No? Oh, just moving it, okay.
moving it.
Okay, and actually, just so everybody knows, that is zero difference in the budget.
I think Legislator Montgomery seconded it. And now we'll have discussion on this item. This is administrative changes, moving it to the chargeback lines with a net zero balance. Any further discussion on this item? Anyone from the public? Okay, I'll make a motion to pass number one of the Health, Social, Environmental Committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll call on the Chairman Birmingham, Chair of the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 3 items before this committee right now. Just a quick question of order.
Yes.
I understand within the Rules Committee purview, there might be some other discussion this evening with respect to other contract agencies of the county. I'm open to what everybody's feeling is. Would you like to have those entertained now during this section of the agenda, or would you like to do it towards the end? I'll defer to my colleagues. I do know
We
there are
want to
some
put all the
people-
contract outside agencies under the purview of the rules
Okay, so.
part of the agenda? Is that what you're asking?
Well, yes, I'm asking, it's my understanding that there have been invited back by our initiation, some outside agencies that I think might be here tonight. And again, pick your poison. I defer to my colleagues, but we could either entertain them during this section of the agenda, the rules section, because that's the purview under which they come, or would you like to do them at the end?
I think it's fair to do them all at the same time,
Okay.
all at once at the beginning, don't you think?
Some have traveled pretty far and.
Get it.
Legislator,
The only thing I would ask is that Legislator Birmingham identify the agenda item
Correct.
numbers that he wants to move to the
Yes.
front of the meeting.
Okay, yep,
so if you're looking to other business.
yep. Okay, well, why don't we do the first 3 there here? That'll be the easy part.
And when we get to other business.
Yep, I'll bring up those items there. Yep, okay. First of all, I'd like to move item number 2, Putnam Arts Council. Putnam Arts Council increase advertising and county contribution from $70,957 to $75,000 for my colleagues. That's on page 230. I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion. This is to add it to the,
No, this is to actually move it. Yes, we're moving everything.
we're
this
moving
evening.
everything.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll second that. Discussion.
Sorry, can you point out the page number again?
Sure, 230, 230.
Thank you.
So this is a contribution to the Arts Council. The Arts Council provides grant funding to organizations throughout the county on arts-related. Pardon?
No, it's somebody
feedback.
watching the YouTube playing.
Oh, okay.
It was you.
Okay.
On YouTube.
So they had originally asked for $52,109. That's what was budgeted. And we're asking to increase that slightly to $55,000.
Which was their ask.
Their ask.
Was their ask.
Yes.
That was just a,
Yeah, it's at the bottom of page 230. It brings the total amount for Putnam Arts Council to $75,000, but as the chair said, we're really talking about the 50, if you take a look at under total expenses, it's going from 50, we're hoping to move it from 52,109 back to 55, which was what was requested.
any legislator, any discussion? Legislator Montgomery?
Do you want to hear my pitch again about the arts? It's been the same one. I've just revised it every year for the past 7 years. So I'll just paraphrase, emphasizing the importance of expand funding for Putnam Arts Council and the many arts and cultural organizations. And what you'll see coming up are agencies that provide arts and culture to Putnam County outside of the Arts Council that will hopefully also receive funding. $55,000 is a very modest support that Putnam County can give back to the Putnam Arts Council, considering what the arts bring to Putnam County. Every dollar invested in the arts yields a strong return, more so probably than many of the other things that we support in this county. So studies consistently show that arts spending stimulates local economies through tourism, which we support too, and we're, talking about how to fund tourism. It brings hospitality, it stimulates the hospitality industry tenfold. I know from working in the hospitality industry myself, and on theater nights, my tips were tripled. So small business activity also gets stimulated too. So these institutions, from the Garrison Arts Center to the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival to the Mahopac Library programs to the Southeast Museum, attract visitors, create jobs, and build civic pride. I could go on and reread what I've written for the past 7 years, but I can't stress enough how important the arts are, especially to Putnam County.
We're going to put you down as a definite maybe.
Thanks.
Through the chair?
Legislator Adamizio.
Yes, thank you. I agree with everything Legislator Montgomery said about the arts. And besides the economy, the arts enhances mental and physical well-being. And we didn't discuss that, but reduces stress and improves brain function. And I think we could all benefit from that. I am supporting this evening, as you can tell.
Anyone else? I'd like to point out that 5,000 of this, there's 15,000 of this is going directly to fund the grant program for those agencies in Putnam County that provide arts programming. They do have a rule this year, if you already receive county funding, you will not be able to receive this type of funding from the grant program, from the Putnam Arts Council. It's considered a double dip, I guess. And 5,000 goes to advertising. And this will be a total difference of an increase to the budget of $4,043. And with that, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Legislator Adamizio?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley? Yes. Legislator Elman?
Yes.
Legislator Gordon?
Yes.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item is item number 3, the Putnam Recreation Program. For my colleagues, it's on page 187. It's the to increase the county contribution. And Michelle, if I have it correct, we're going to give it level funding to bring it from $15,450 to $19,000. Am I correct? No?
25,000
The 25,000, okay.
from 15,000.
Got it, okay, yep. Oh, my mistake, I see it right here. Yes, that is the motion. Sorry about that. I'll need a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Legislator Yonke.
Thank you. Yeah, I proposed this because last year, they were granted 15,000, and at the legislature's discretion, we added another 10, as we did for other agencies, and to bring them back to 15,000 with a small increase would have basically left them with a cut in funding, and that's why I proposed the additional 10,000, 9,500 to bring it up to 25,000. Keep them where they were last year.
Just so the public's aware that the PRP serves youth and adults with developmental disabilities.
Anyone else? Okay, I mean, I'm going to disagree with Legislator Yonke about the cut in funding. The way I see it is they had a budgeted amount last year, and they came back for a second shot at the contingency funds. So they did, I would consider that a $10,000 bonus that they got last year. And the county executive did increase it by 3%, like all outside agencies, but right now we're voting to increase from the county executive's tentative budget to the $25,000 that was granted last year. Total funds. Any other discussion? Anyone from the public? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Next item is item number 4. This is for my colleagues on page 243. It's to increase, this is for Second Chance Foods, to go from $10,300 to $20,000. It was passed out of the Rules Committee meeting.
Okay,
I'll need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Discussion. Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye. That concludes the pre-filed ones, Madam Chair. I guess we can jump to, why don't we go to item, if it's okay with my colleagues, go to item number 24, Career Support Solutions. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'll make a motion to go out of order to go to item number 24.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. So if we go to
We're on
item,
number 24,
yes,
page 188.
188, yep. And this is to go from $15,340 to $30,000. I know this had robust discussion in the committee. It was passed, well, it was discussed in the committee, but it's here as an additional because it was not voted out of the committee. But first of all, before we begin that, I'll move this and I'll need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Just a little, I think this is an organization that helps fulfill the county's mandate with respect to job creation, also education, and also taking care of some of our most vulnerable. I think it's an excellent program. We have funded it last year, or this year, I should say, and you know, there's quite a lot of other fundraising they do, or you know, getting funds for these programs. So this is a way for Putnam County, like I said earlier, to help fulfill our mandate for these programs.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Let's see, we have also, my motion to go out of order was for all, unless you want to do one by one. Yeah, if we could go to item 21, that is the Hudson Valley Shakespeare, and that is on page, do we have a page on that, Michelle? Or no? Great.
I don't think, it was,
Oh, there wasn't a page? Okay. Yes, I will defer to my colleague, Legislator Montgomery, to make the motion and the amount, and I'd be happy to second it. Well,
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to put forward a $10,000 request for Hudson Valley Shakespeare. They were here just last month. You heard, what their program is about. This particular funding would be for Putnam County students to come see daytime student matinees at the new Samuel H. Scripps Theater Center in September and October of 2026. Like, many of our outside agencies and organizations, they do offer supplemental educational cultural programs. Nobody does it quite like Hudson Valley Shakespeare, the amount of students they reach. You did hear about that when they were here. They're sending out a press release with their season announcement tomorrow, but the Shakespeare titles are As You Like It, King Lear, and two seminal Shakespeare works that are very excited to present to school audiences as well as the general public. So we're really excited. This comes, we did take 2,900 out of sub-contingency. I think they had requested quite a bit of money in 2025 because there was no cap on what an agency could request. So some of our outside agencies were requesting quite a bit because they didn't know what, the sky was the limit. They were denied in 2025 funding. We decided not to fund them. So I was grateful for that 2,900. In the, talk about getting them here to fight for that $2,900 and the deadlines for submitting for 2026. They didn't meet with the county executive. They missed the submission. As you know, they're under this huge production of redoing their state-of-the-art theater or building a state-of-the-art theater. So it brings a lot to Putnam County as far as education, employment. It's maybe our number one employer, besides the schools. In Phillipstown, they generated Hudson Valley Shakespeare Hospitality, which they are co-owners of. It's a for-profit subsidy, wholly owned by Hudson Valley Shakespeare. They generated over $342,000 in sales tax. There is also a use tax. I'm not sure what that is. But in total, both Hudson Valley Shakespeare business and the not-for-profit generated over $350,000 in sales tax revenue in 2024. So if you're looking at what we get in return, if you want to just look at it in sense of dollars, the return we get, as you see, as I said about the arts, just in sales tax revenue alone, that's what we get, not to mention all the other things we know we get from the arts. So I couldn't let 2026 budget process go by without requesting funding for Hudson Valley Shakespeare, knowing the 34-year dedication they've had to Putnam County and all that they've brought to us. So with that, I'm putting that forward.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any further discussion? Anyone from the public wishing to speak? All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to move to item number 20, Garrison Arts Center. That one is on page 244. What we're looking to do here, or this is to go from 0 to 10,000. I'll again defer to my colleague, Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, 0 to 10,000, 244, wait. Is correct, but we were able to get $10,000 in the budget for Garrison Arts Center in 2025. So to Legislator Yonke's point, to put in 0 for 2026, he would call that a cut. We would call that, in 2025, they got a $10,000 bonus, whatever you want to call it. Goes back to the conversation we had around the arts in Putnam County. We had this discussion about the Putnam Arts Council and their, how much was given for their re-grant opportunities. $15,000 for the re-grant opportunities. That's to give to outside agencies that the Arts Council approves. So when you spread that much money across maybe 12 applicants, each arts organization is getting about $1,000, $800 for their arts programs. considering what these arts organizations and cultural organizations do and generate as far as jobs, income, sales tax revenue sometimes, this is a no-brainer to me. The return on investment we get from these organizations is beyond what we can provide as a county to our residents. So with that, I am happy to support this $10,000 for the Garrison Arts Center.
I'll second.
There may be some people from the public who might want to say
Any
something.
legislators wishing to comment? Questions or comments? Anyone from the public? Please come to the podium, state your name and the town in which you reside.
Hello, I'm Catherine Graham. I'm the Executive Director of Garrison Arts Center. I reside in Cornwall, Hudson, New York, Orange County. And I would like to say that this grant is to support, mostly it's to support an aging population that uses Garrison Arts Center. So we want to improve our ADA, our accessibility. And we have to say that in Putnam County, there's an aging population, and the arts contribute greatly to their quality of life, how they socially, how they're interacting with people during the day, how they're expressing themselves, adding so much to their lives. So we would like to make our building, which was built in 1860, more accessible and friendly so that everybody can use it and we don't have to worry about certain people not being able to use our program, take advantage of our programs.
Thank you. And just to reiterate what Legislator Birmingham said during his Rules Committee, and I know the language is different between the not-for-profit world and the government world, but this is not considered a grant. This is considered a contract, where you're contracting outside agencies for services that the county can't provide. So this is not considered a grant. We just don't give out money. It's considered a contract with the residents, with Putnam County, so that our residents can enjoy the access, because it comes from our taxpayers' pockets. So I just want to make that clear.
Not to worry, the money's still green, though.
Right. I know I come from the nonprofit world, so it's always grants, but just making that clear. Okay, anyone else? Okay, wait, I have a first motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Madam Chair, I think this will be the last for the Rules Committee. I'd like to go to item 19, Boscobel increased county contribution. For my colleagues, that's on page 245, the very next page. And again, I'll defer to my colleague, Legislator Montgomery.
Yes, tell me the page number again.
Oh, I'm so sorry, 245.
245.
5, yes.
This is number 19?
19, please, yes.
So similarly, like the 2025 budget, they're receiving $10,000 in 2025. Hold on, I have to get my notes. I'm really sorry. I can't do this all off the
We will
cuff.
wait for
And
you.
we do have a representative from Boscobel here. If
245.
If we can we hear from her first? If that, I may defer.
Why don't you move it, I'll second it.
Okay,
That
I
way we get
move
it
to pass a resolution for $10,000 for Boscobel in the 2026 budget.
I'll second it for discussion.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Okay, and we'll hear from Boscobel. That'd be great.
Hello,
Jennifer.
good evening. I'm Jennifer Carlquist. I reside in Garrison, and I have the honor of being the Executive Director and Curator at Boscobel House of Gardens. Thank you so much for considering this $20,000 request for 2026. Boscobel is requesting funds to serve to expand access, specifically ADA access, similar to my colleagues at the Garrison Arts Center. Now that we've reopened the Historic House Museum, we are Putnam County's most visited cultural site. As you know, we engage the public lifelong learners in history, design, and nature at Boscobel, 100 acres and a fabulous historic house museum dated 1808. That 1808 building is now reopened after a $1.2 million restoration and emergency project that was required when our ceiling collapsed. As part of that project, we've installed our first ever ADA lift. Our insurance monies have gotten us only so far, and the last requirements of that ADA access now are to upgrade the hardware of the literal doors to the museum so that people could exit an emergency more safely. enter the building if they have mobility impairments easier, and also exit in an emergency. These are not code requirements, but they're safety recommendations that we can only meet with dedicated grant funding. That would expand access for lifelong learners. Our largest audience base are multi-generational families who come, grandparents with grandchildren, parents with children, from really strollers to wheelchairs. And we're so thrilled to be able to finally welcome those mobility impaired guests to Boscoville for the first time in our 60-plus year history. We could do more with county investment to be able to establish that access as a contracted service. So thank you so much for that consideration.
Thank you. Any other legislators have any questions or comments?
I just have
Legislator
a
Montgomery.
comment different than all, my other comments. One thing to consider, we're going to be talking about the tourism budget tonight as well, and my comments on the tourism budget are always about the I Love New York funding and how I would like to use it to support tourism, whereas it can only really be used for advertising outside of the county. And I felt like, we need more money to support the tourism that we are inundated with. And these funds that we're giving to these organizations throughout Putnam County will help support that tourism. It will offer these organizations opportunities to bring in the people and support the people that are there. Lots of people come to the Garrison Arts Center in the summer, tourists off the train. It is 3 steps literally away from the train, and to be able to welcome and become ADA compliant for all those organizations really goes a long way. And it's money that we can't use from tourism to support them, yet we're sending them there. We just keep sending people to these places, and they really don't have the capacity to handle it. So I do appreciate that this money goes a long way. I think it goes a long way with health and safety, too.
Thank you. Any other legislators? Anyone else from the public? Okay, so I just shuffled my papers around.
I keep track of everything.
So this is number 19.
It is.
For Boscoville. Okay, so on page 245, if there's no further questions or comments, all in favor? Aye.
Madam Chair, that's all I see for the Rules Committee on the printed schedule and calendar. I'd be willing to turn the committee purview over to any other colleague who might have some additionals,
Okay.
dealing with the purview of the Rules Committee, whether it's
Anyone have
contract
anything else?
agencies or anything like that.
I have a comment. Just,
Sure.
during the Rules Committee budget meeting, some outside agencies weren't able to attend or didn't know to attend for whatever reason. But we do have some members of those outside agencies here tonight, because some legislators made a comment that if they're not here, how do we fund them? So, if I may, I know that Michelle Cupper is here from the Behavioral Health, Phillipstown Behavioral Health Hub. She's the executive director. If you just we're funding their program. It is in the budget. I believe it will be accepted, but if you want to, can we just allow Michelle a couple of minutes to say
This
hi?
has already gone through the budget, and this has already been passed?
No, it will be once we vote on it tonight and at the.
You're asking for a change to the
No,
budget?
no, I'm not asking for any change. I just, some legislators did
Yeah.
comment that people from outside agencies were not here during the.
Oh, so you think they
I'm
might
just-
lose their funding that's in there?
I'm willing to, I'd like to hear a little bit
Yeah, I
more
certainly
about
would like
the
to hear.
program.
I'm just trying to understand if we're making any
Yeah,
additional changes.
I don't have
or-
any changes. It seems to be they.
It's just
they-
public comment for someone who's already in the budget.
Yes.
Whose money has already passed.
Through the-
Once we.
Yes.
yeah. We haven't depleted the budget.
No, there's no changes
Yes,
for
no
them
changes.
than what's already in. Can you
It's
tell
just
us
a
what
consider-
page the hub is on, Michelle?
What's that?
This Michelle.
I'm just looking actually as we speak.
Sorry, I don't have it. And I can't search for some reason. Why can't we search that? It makes me crazy. So we don't have the page in front of us, but you could just, I know what it is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Legislator Montgomery, and all of you.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the
Moment.
spot. I hope it's okay.
Absolutely.
You
No,
came all this
fine.
way, and I thought, why not?
Thank you so much for the funding that you provided us last year, and I'm here to say, I'm really looking forward, and I'm hoping that you'll continue the funding for this year. My name is Michelle Cupper. I'm the Executive Director at the Phillipstown Behavioral Health Hub. I live in Cold Spring, New York. We are a nonprofit that we are in the mental health and recovery and addiction realm, where our services provide care coordination for people who are in need of mental health or addiction recovery resources. We do a lot of programming and a lot of work in the community to destigmatize talking about mental health. So your funding last year really helped us to open up our space on Route 9. It's on Route 9 as you approach Fishkill, and it is really working toward our mission of expanding our reach. We are also able to see people who prefer the privacy of a space like that as opposed to coming into the village. We are able to host much larger trainings and programs there. So your continued funding will allow us to continue building out that space, to put in some doors, some digital locks, some technology. So I would like to say thanks for bringing me out.
Thanks for coming, appreciate it.
And if I can just comment on what the actual funding is, if you don't mind, and what it was. So 2025, we put in 15,000 in the budget, and 2026, they did request 25,000, and they were granted $15,450, a 3% increase. We haven't passed a resolution to increase what their request was. Everybody seems amenable to all of this. I'm hopeful that throughout the year, as we see more opioid, I want to go on the record to say, once we receive more opioid settlement funding, that we first consider the hub and the work that they do throughout the year. If there becomes more funding available, whether it's through the opioid settlement, the vape program we're getting money for, they are a great resource for education and prevention and all of that. So please make note of that as we approach 2026.
Thank you, Legislator Montgomery. I'd now like to turn over to our Chairman Yonke of Personnel to discuss any of the items brought forward by the Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman Sage. On behalf of legislators Adnesio, Goulden, and myself, I'd like to move on with, move item number 5. It's for the Office of Disabilities and Mental Health, LGU Administration, Coordinator Officer for Individuals with Disabilities, to restore salary to requested amount. It's in the personnel section of our budgets on page 53 and 55. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Discussion. On number 5, Office for Disabilities and Mental Health.
This was discussed during the committee.
Just plug the agenda item, sorry, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so this is going to be a total difference of
$10,486.
$6.
Yes.
Any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye. Item number 6 is mental health, SPOA coordinator, adults, restore salary to requested amount. It's on page 54 in our budget. It's a difference of $5,383.
All second?
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion. It's on page
54 of the,
54.
of the personnel section.
Personnel.
Yep.
Right.
In the front of the book.
Any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7 is mental health, Oasis abatement, dual recovery coordinator, restore the salary to a requested amount. It's on page 56 in the personnel section of our budget. This is in the, a difference in the positive of $5,383.
Did you make the motion?
I make a motion to move
Okay,
it.
I'll second. Discussion. This is for the
Oasis
dual
abatement.
recovery coordinator.
Yep.
Any discussion, anyone from the public? I apologize if anyone from the public, if I pass you over, please raise your hand. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Item number 8 is mental health co-response team grant. crisis intervention specialist. It's law enforcement. It's to restore the salary to the requested amount. This is on page 57 in our budget. It's in the amount, the difference is in the amount of $5,383. I'd like to move it.
Second.
Discussion? Legislator Crowley.
I think this is a mainly grant funded, and I would like to see this at some point, if we don't continue to have it grant funded. It's something very important. I've dealt with it in my full-time job. They have responded to many constituents. They're wonderful. They're an asset to the community. And this particular person does a fantastic job, and it's well deserving and has helped a lot of people in need. And I'm appreciative of the team and the efforts that we put together. So,
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to comment that it's my experience that it not only helps the public, but it really does help law enforcement. As I said before, most of our deputy sheriffs are the first on the scene, and it's not just always criminal in nature. Sometimes it's a suicide attempt or mental health crisis, and for them to have to deal with this day after day, showing up at somebody's house at 3 a.m, it's really important for them to have what I hope is support for the sheriff's department, and I'd like to continue it too.
Legislator Adenizio.
Thank you. Just so the public is aware that the co-response team is collaboration between law enforcement and mental health professionals.
Thank you. I think it's so important that we keep our mental health and our law enforcement on the same page and working together and communicating. I think it's beneficial to the public and it's beneficial to law enforcement. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9 is DSS Services, Director of Child Family Services, restore salary to requested amount. This is on page 60 of our budget. This is in the amount of $5,383.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item number 10 is the Youth Bureau Deputy Youth Director, restore salary to requested amount. This is on page 83 in our budget. This is, I'd like to move it. It is a difference of $10,980.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item number 11 is County Auditor. This is to take the salary increase out of sub-contingency. It's per the Catapult survey. This is a difference of $2,931. I'd like to move that, please.
seconds.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Item number 12 is also in the County Auditor Department, Audit Manager. It's increased salary per the Catapult survey. It's on personnel, page 6. It's in the amount of $11,513. I'd like to move it, please.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 13 is the County Auditor. Deputy County Auditor, increased salary per Catapult survey. This is also on page 6 in our personnel section of our budget. It's for a difference of $14,675. I'd like to move that.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 14 is Legislature. It's a reclassification of an administrative assistant to deputy clerk. It's an increase of salary per the Catapult survey. I would like to move that. It is in the amount of $11,022.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Discussion?
Yes, I'm very much in favor of this. What I might want to do during rules towards, not that it makes any difference on this, during rules before the end of the year, maybe give the deputy clerk some more statutory powers just so that she can act as deputy clerk in the absence of the clerk. I think there was an instance a few years back where a clerk was absent. I'm going back many years when I was on and at that point there was a question as to whether or not the deputy clerk could act in calling in, signing something or something like that. So just as a heads up, I'm going to entertain something for my colleagues' consideration for that.
Legislator Elner.
Legislator Birmingham is absolutely correct. We had a situation here where the clerk was on vacation, and we had to expedite some things which could have been avoided.
Any further discussion? Anyone from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Chairwoman Sage, I'd also, much like Legislator Birmingham took a couple items out of order, we have two more personnel items.
There's personnel
If you wouldn't mind indulging me, I'd like to follow up with item number 15.
And just to be clear, and if it's coming out of other business, we need a motion to add it and a second to add it. Is that correct?
No,
We just move it up?
Only on the,
there's no pre-final.
It's all, okay. Just, I was trying to be,
So I'd like to move item number 15, which is the Office for Senior Resources, caseworker assistant. It's a part-time, 25-hour per week position, should be calculated as a step 2. It's a difference in the amount of $4,399.
second.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye. I'd also like to address item number 25 on our agenda, which is the historian, the county historian. It's an increase to full-time. It's something that I proposed. We did have an executive session regarding it, and I'd like to propose that this become a full-time position at $80,000 per year.
I'll second.
Discussion. Legislator Anisio.
Yeah, I know this evening we are going according to the Catapult survey. What was that? 'Cause, according to the Catapult survey, the salary should be, do you have that? information?
I don't have that right in front of me.
Okay, because I was just wondering.
Legislator Crowley.
I have a question. County historian is a very important part of Putnam, and our history is very important. And this year, I think, especially, I understand there's a lot of work, a lot more than normal because of Rev 250. I have a proposal that I would like to discuss, not taking it away, but, would anyone be willing to discuss a stipend with this for this year? Because is it going to always be needed? We've never historically had a full-time historian in Putnam, correct?
I think Paul wasn't
Just-
Dick Muscarella?
We did.
Did we? A lot.
Yeah.
So I'm,
History, a lot of history there, huh?
Well, we're having discussion. Did we have wait,
I'm
This is
just,
still
I'm
discussion.
just talking.
Yeah, we're
So
talking
I'm just wondering when the last time that full-time position was, not discrediting this person at all, understanding a huge project this year, it is very important, but also wondering, is it something that we are going to have the need for in the future? And with the Catapult survey, what does it come in as?
Legislator Birmingham.
If I may, I have the Catapult survey if you want that.
Sure.
The midpoint of the Catapult survey was $78,672.
Midpoint.
The recommendation from the Catapult survey was increase hours from 25 to 30 hours, which will increase the annual salary from $45,201 to $54,241, a 20% increase. But in what was being considered, that just seemed to cancel out
Right.
the position as far as health benefits
Yes.
and whatever else.
I was just simply
Yeah.
proposing because I don't know how long ago it was, but again, I know there's a lot of work to be done this year, but I didn't know if we needed full-time in the future. And I wouldn't want to discredit anybody, but I was thinking about maybe a stipend for this year. just putting it out there to discuss.
As I understand it, there was a discussion between the administration and the county historian, and they had an agreement that she would go to, first of all, to full-time.
Correct.
Okay, and when the numbers didn't work because of the contribution to health benefits, so it's going to be a 35-hour per week position. Okay, I compared, and I know we have I don't want to put her on the spot, but I know what the tourism director makes. This is coming in far less than what the tourism director makes, and they are what I would say comparable positions, and, and especially coming into this year, the Rev 250, I think there's going to be a lot of need for the county historian, and I know what the administration suggested as far as the salary, and I think that was too low, but it's also still less than what we're paying for the tourism director. So I think it's a happy compromise.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yeah, I'm kind of a local history nerd myself, and I mean that in a good way. There's a lot of work that can be done in the historian's office. They've been doing a yeoman's job, a person's job, not to be politically correct, but they've been doing a Herculean task. There's so much there that they want to do and that they can get the resources to do. A lot of our not-for-profits that are here today, they spend a lot of their time fundraising. I know the historian's office can do a lot with respect, and they've talked about digitizing, whether it's the Putnam County Courier or the book of proceedings for our boards of supervisors. There's been talk about a project to document what we now call the Veterans Memorial Park. That used to be the county poorhouse back in the day. When I say that, back to the 1830s. And anyone who's driven up Gypsy Trail Road, you'll see the cemetery there where a lot of the quote-unquote inmates who lived there are buried. And so my point is, just to speak up a little bit for history, as I know everyone here is, there's having a full-time resource there, because everyone there gives more than what their part-time salary pays. I think it would be to the advantage, not only during Rev 250, I think even beyond. So that's just my 2 cents.
Anyone else? Legislator Montgomery.
Yes, I really appreciate the points that Legislator Birmingham brought up. We do keep talking about these programs we have throughout the county, but no true curator for all of them. We're putting a lot of money into the Veterans Museum. There are a lot of veterans historical material that we have that need to be cared for. And also, the Revolutionary War was 9 years. This 1776, this 2026 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War is really going to be honored for 9 years going out. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be doing as a county to honor that. And I think we do need this person's, I guess I can't say names, expertise, and she's a wonderful, wonderful historian. And I would hate to lose her. This was not an easy thing for her to look at either. So, yeah, I would be in support of making this a full-time position.
I, for one, am amazed at what our historian has accomplished working part-time up until this point. And I would venture a guess to say that she probably works a lot more than just part-time. She worked with the schools. I attended an event with her during the women's suffrage movement at Brewster High School, where she brought a symposium together with the students and various local female leaders and discussed. You were there. Yeah, that was amazing that she put that together. I would love to see that every year. I don't think it's ever going to happen every year, but the events and the things that she organizes on behalf of the historian's office are incredible, and I'm fully supportive of this. Legislator Crowley.
It wasn't discrediting. I was just stating on the record, historically, it's been no pun intended, it's been a very long time since we've had a full-time historian, and wanted to get others feel if that's something that we were going to need a full-time job. I think the history is one of the things that we talk about most in Putnam, especially when it comes to tourism. It takes a little bit off of your district, and it can expand onto other parts. So again, just wanted to have the discussion and see if that's something that it deserved a stipend or it would be full-time, and see what everybody else had to say about it. Not discrediting anybody, just wanted to talk about it.
Legislator Adenizio.
Thank you. I just want to say this full-time position will be an absolute asset to Putnam County. Totally support it.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Please, come up.
Hello, Jennifer Carlquist again, Garrison resident and Executive Director of Boscoville House of Gardens. We so depend on the county historian to be such a resource, and I have to say I've had the great privilege of meeting many of you because of events that the county historian organized. She has a way of galvanizing the community, every age, every corner of the county, to really celebrate U.S. history, even complicated history, in a way that unifies the community, shares civic pride, and really inspires next generations to not only understand where they live, but to love where they live. So I'm so proud of her and her work. I'm thrilled to be her colleague, and I really appreciate this investment in expanding her role. It benefits all of us. This is a special place where history is so unique in this area, and not just because everybody's celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, but here in Putnam County, we can celebrate far into the future and talk about how that history knitted together conflicting opinions, people on both sides of the war, half loyalists, half patriots. And after the most profound conflict, they were able to unite. And I think that is such a great message for today. So I feel like our county historian is the rah-rah everybody needs right now, and I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. That's, if we're gonna go back to full-time, I think it's great. I have a constituent who we all know, Alan Warnicki, and he has been pushing for Hill Agor Farm for the better part of 20 years. So if we are putting somebody on full-time, I'd like to see projects like this discussed. I'd like to see the historic committee brought back. That's something that we haven't done. That is a committee and board that has laid empty for a long time. And I think we really need to take a look at this and build things that come along with this position so that she has the support that she needs as well, and to support our constituents.
Anyone else from the public? I mean, just a quick aside. I so appreciate local history. I grew up in the Midwest in Nebraska, and our history is based on Lewis and Clark and discovering the West. And I moved to Atlanta, and it's all about the Civil War. And then I moved up here. It's all about the Revolutionary War. And I think that's so interesting and so exciting to dive into. So I think each region in this country has beautiful history, and I'm glad we have a curator for that here in Putnam County. And with that, I'll ask for all in favor.
Aye. Chairwoman, if you don't mind, I'll take item number 16, which is also a personnel item. It's page 7 in the personnel section of our book. It's for Department of General Services. It's a commissioner. Apparently there was an oversight in when they budgeted his salary. There was a calculation that there was an omission of $3,207, and I'd like to move that forward.
I'll second. There's thousands of lines in this budget, and if there's one that gets by the goalie, that's a good record. So this is nothing unusual. It's happened in years past.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So we'll move on to other business, item number 17. This is an adjustment to chargeback revenue. This is for the Sheriff, Security Services, DSS, Road Machinery Fund, Transit Part Bus Systems, Insurance Expense. This is a positive difference of $62,983, and we're adjusting the chargeback expenses against that for a total positive amount of $4,500.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion. This is just accounting. This is, we're readjusting the lines here to reflect the chargebacks. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Agenda item 18. This is the Sheriff's Buckle Up Grant. This is an adjustment in revenue and expense on page 80 in your book. So from what I understand, the Buckle Up grant has been received. It's going to be discussed at our next audit meeting. So we're taking it out of this 2026 budget, and we're going to be moving it to the 2025 budget. So the difference is a positive for the 2026 budget of $1,554. And I'll just ask our auditor, did I explain that properly? Thank you. I'll make a motion for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda item number 22. This was proposed by Legislator Yonke. This is regarding the use of fund balance to provide a homeowner tax relief debate. I'll leave it to Legislator Yonke too.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel last week, but we do hold in our unassigned fund balance about $80 million. Back in 2015, when the budget was $145 million, we had $12 million in the unassigned fund balance, which is about 8%. In 2018, we had a $155 million budget with $22 million in the unassigned fund balance. That was about 15%. And right now, we're at about 40% of unassigned fund balance to the total budget. We're holding too much money. Rather than reducing the property tax, which mostly benefits the city of New York and utility companies. I went through the list last week. I'm not going to do that again. I wanted to propose real meaningful relief that would give benefit to our senior citizens, our veterans, our hardworking residents of Putnam County. We talk about historic property tax relief, which is a 2.2% drop in the tax levy this year. The average homeowner is going to feel the impact of about $25. My proposal would be for a $200 rebate check to single-family homeowners. Owner-occupied residences only. It's in the amount of $6.5 million. I know we made a request of council to examine what needed to be done. It looks like part of it needs to be an approval from the county executive, so I would appeal to the county executive to jump on board with us and do whatever he needs to do to push this forward. But this is direct relief to our residents. This pile of money that's sitting in our unfunded, unassigned fund balance is due to COVID and the sales tax revenue that we received during COVID and since COVID. Also the Wayfair lawsuit settlement. So that's where we're at. I'm making a motion to use $6.5 million of the unassigned fund balance for a rebate, and the mechanism by which we will distribute the money is for owner-occupied, single-family homes in Putnam County.
Second.
Seconded by Legislator Eleanor. Discussion. Legislator Crowley.
Thank you, Chairman. So I've always supported financial restraint, transparency, the principle that every dollar of taxpayer money should be treated with care. Our residents deserve accountability and predictability in how their hard-earned tax dollars are spent. That said, it's equally important to ensure that any tax limiting proposal we consider for Putnam County does not unintentionally weaken our ability to deliver essential services or respond to emergencies. We've seen it in other states, most notably in Colorado with the Tabor law, that overly rigid spending caps can have long-term consequences: underfunded schools, infrastructure, limited public safety investments, and a loss of local control when quick action is needed. Fiscal discipline and flexibility are not mutually exclusive. We can protect the taxpayers while still maintaining the tools necessary to invest in our roads, emergency response, and community programs. I would encourage a careful review of any proposed cap to ensure it's both responsible and sustainable for the people of Putnam County. As always, my focus will remain on keeping taxes low and protecting essential services and ensuring that our county government works for residents and not at their expense. I am also concerned, and I heard the mechanism, but of how many people it would take to do this. Do we need a local law? moving this money, is it actually going to come out of sub-contingency? There's a lot of things that need to go along with it.
Just to be clear, I'm moving that we take $6.5 million, put it into sub-contingency, so that it may be dispersed in the calendar year 2026. Okay, the legal mechanism can be worked out if we can get the county executive to support it. If it never goes through, the money's in sub-contingency, it goes back into the general fund at the end of 2026. But I think that we should do everything we can to return this money to the pockets of the people who put it there.
I still haven't clarified that. Thank you, Legislator Young.
You asked a question.
So I guess my question is before we move money around, which we can do at any point, we can put in a resolution and ask for something to be done, but do we know if we need a local law to do this? Does this have to go to referendum? Does this have to go to Albany?
Are you asking a question now? Can I speak?
It's rhetorical. I know the answer to it. We do. It has to go to Albany. It has to get approval. Okay, so why are we putting the cart before the horse? Why don't we figure out the mechanism? We're working currently on the budget. Figure out a mechanism instead of ramming things through again without a way to figure it out and do what's best. Are we going to end up spending more money on processing fees and adding more employees? And we don't know anything. And I don't like disenfranchising renters. I think that's ridiculous. We have a lot of seniors and veterans that rent. It's not fair. We have a lot of people that own a lot of property, and they would make out well on that. And we have a lot of people that can't afford that. So I think it needs to be equitable and fair to all the people that live in Putnam County, not just the people that own houses. Renters are included. They pay into taxes through their rent.
Okay. Did you want to answer?
Yeah, I do, because there are a couple of hypotheticals. You have to put the money aside before you can fund a program. Every year, twice a year, we send out 43,000 tax bills. We can easily send out 30,000 checks for $200. It's the mechanism, it's not impossible. It's not, crazy. It's not, we don't have to hire a department to do this.
Isn't this what the governor just did?
I have the floor now.
Oh, excuse me.
Well,
I excuse myself.
this is something that can be worked out, especially in light of the opinion of the council. And to be fair to her, we discussed this last week, and I feel she was under the gun. I got the copy of her opinion on Friday, so it was only a couple of days. And I think that we can research this. If we have the assistance of the administration, this can be done. You want to come up with a program for renters, you can come up with a program for renters. But we're talking about property tax relief. This goes hand in hand with property tax relief to those people, those stakeholders who own property. And you mentioned people who own multiple properties. This is for single-family owner-occupied residences. So if you own 10 properties, you only get it on your home. If you don't live in Putnam County, you don't get a check.
Legislator Elner.
Thank you, Legislator Yankee. You were hitting on a couple of things. First of all, to me, the idea of a $25 tax reduction means that I can't even buy a pepperoni pizza. It is so minuscule that it will not help people. It primarily will not help those people who have lower and fixed incomes. This limits it, so this limits this so that people who are extremely wealthy are only getting a $200 benefit. Renters do not pay property tax. The landlord is the person who pays the property tax. And I think it's highly doubtful that if a landlord gets a $200 rebate, that they are going to share that with the renter. But this proposal doesn't even take that into consideration because it's for homeowner occupied resident, and again, it's one. I want to see meaningful tax relief. I find it very disingenuous when people come up with reasons not to reduce taxes. The other part of this is we haven't received our audit yet. And based on previous years, after we get the audit, we have somewhere between $8 and $10 million that goes back to the general fund. So I'm going to make a prediction that when we get the audit, we're going to have an excess of $6.5 million that will go back to the general fund, which means this is going to mean nothing to the overall health of the county's finances. We have the funds. Let's get them back to the taxpayers. They deserve it.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yeah, hi. I want to echo a little bit of what Aaron was just saying about prudence in watching out for our budget. I don't disagree with her on that. We do have to, I was on this legislature when we went through the 2008 housing crisis. Paul will remember as well. It really devastated our county budget, and we didn't have the resources at the time. We had a fund balance, of course, but we didn't have the scale and magnitude of the fund balances we have now.
Nor the revenue stream.
I'm sorry?
Nor the revenue stream.
Nor the revenue stream. But as Paul was saying, we roughly have about $80 million in unassigned fund balance. But we also have something that's called, you would imagine, assigned fund balance. And unlike capital reserve funds, which are statutorily restricted from moving one to the other, with unassigned fund balance, this legislature back in 2008 delegated to our Commissioner of Finance, Bill Carlin, at the time then and now, to assign fund balance. And he's done an excellent job in husbanding those funds and making sure that they're put aside for a rainy day for certain purposes. However, having said that, the assigned fund balance can always be moved out if we, unlike certain reserve funds, the assigned fund balance can always be moved out of assigned fund balance into unassigned by that same commissioner. Or if the commissioner doesn't want to do that, we can reclaim that delegated power to do that. Just a few brief facts. At a certain point in the year, in one year we had $7.5 million in assigned fund balance for future capital projects. The next year, it went up to $17,820,000. Not criticizing that. I think, we've got a lot of capital needs here in Putnam County, and I think the Commissioner of Finance at the time made a prudent choice in squirreling that away in a good way for future capital purposes. But, God forbid, we hit another 2008. Maybe we'll delay a couple of capital projects for a few years and move some of that money out of assigned fund balance back into unassigned, so that it can be used to react. We didn't have that agility back 16 years ago, 17 years ago, because our fund balance wasn't as large as it is. Back then, I'm not sure if we called it assigned fund balance. I think it was called restricted fund balance back then, but the same concepts were there. So I think we can be more nimble today if we do hit a snag and we have a lot of assigned fund balance, but don't forget that's not necessarily restricted. We still have restricted fund balance, which we can't touch or can't move. But assigned fund balance is not merely, but simply a designation by, in this case, our Chief Fiscal Officer, the Commissioner of Finance, to move things into buckets for future use. He can always move them out, and if there's a policy disagreement between this legislature and a future Commissioner of Finance that, hey, we're hitting the skids here, we need to move money out of assigned fund balance into unassigned, we could take that power back. So we're much more nimble than we were 16 years ago with respect to this. So I would just offer that for my colleagues' consideration as well. I'm planning on voting in favor of this. As Paul said, I think should it not come to fruition, whether by legal impediment or by policy determinations, the money can roll right back into fund balance again. But I think we have to show something, at least an effort, to see if we can see this through. And again, we did get a memo. It was wonderful. I spoke with our attorney before this. I don't doubt anything she says, but I think we need to look at it a little bit more, and maybe there's some other considerations we can have. So I've talked long enough, but I'll be voting in favor. Thank you.
Anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Legislator Russo.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Oh, no, go.
No. Who hasn't spoken yet? You've spoken twice before. Nobody else has spoken once. So we're going to get to people who haven't spoken before, and then we'll come back to you. Legislator Russo.
I just would like to ask our council to summarize what's going on here.
We would go into
I think everyone on this legislature who has the ability to read the document. I don't know why we have to go into,
Make a motion to.
I don't know why we have to go in.
This afternoon.
Pardon?
Document came this afternoon. I didn't get a chance to read that email.
And I would like to.
So you'd like to go into executive session for us to read the memo?
No, to talk to.
To discuss it.
Summarize it, yes. I think that's part of it is it's confidential. It was brought to us today with all of the information, and I think we should be able to go into executive session if we're going to move 6 point.
So we have a motion,
Second.
Legislator Goldman, seconded by
I'd like to
Legislator
amend-
Crowley.
I make a motion to amend the motion.
A motion to amend the motion.
Yes, you could do that. Yeah.
That we hear from all the other legislators first in general about their concerns before we go into executive session, and maybe there won't be a need to go into executive session. So whoever was
I would second that.
next.
So
Oh,
amend
we
the
have to
motion
vote.
to go into executive session.
We're on deck to go into executive.
Following,
Yeah, second as
following
well.
each legislator having the opportunity to have their voices heard. So I would second that. All in favor
Aye.
of the motion to amend?
Sure. Who's next?
Okay, so we were, Legislator Russo had the floor. Was that your,
Well, I think all my questions should go to executive session,
okay.
based on the document.
This is an interesting idea, an interesting concept. I think it's too soon to implement something like this. There's a reason why no other county in New York State has done this in history of New York State. It was mentioned that, was it Ulster County you mentioned?
I don't think, last week I did, yeah, last week I did, yeah.
There's a reason why nothing like this has happened. We need guidance. We need guidance from our auditor, which was mentioned, hasn't been here yet this year, from the Controller's Office, from the IRS, from the state. And there's reasons why this hasn't happened yet. It would be really sad if we tell the public that, oh, we're going to put $6.5, $7, $10 million aside for this, and then it doesn't happen because we can't do it. We're going to look like jerks. So I would say, for this budget season, it's not the best idea. After the budget passes, or it doesn't pass, but it has to pass eventually, then we can look at it for next year. So that's my proposal. So I will not be voting for something like this at this juncture.
Okay. Thank you, Legislator Goldman. Legislator Montgomery hasn't had a chance to speak yet.
Thank you, and I appreciate the conversations, and I did have a conversation with Legislator Yonke when he was thinking about proposing this, and I always appreciate that collaboration and working together to do what makes sense. And this does make a lot of fiscal sense. It makes sense for our taxpayers, but I think what I'm considering, rather than it making fiscal and procedural sense, nobody's had any discussions with our state officials yet. It first has to go through the state in order for it to happen, and then we have to pass our own local law. That's one thing, and that's, as we know from past experiences in getting anything through different levels of government, it's going to take a really long time. So this does seem premature, especially at a time. What I was most focused on during this budget session was childcare cuts. We had to cut off applications for our childcare programs. That's one. I don't know if we're understanding really as a legislature and county government what this big, beautiful bill means to us as a county. But what I see and what I'm looking at is how it will affect the Department of Social Services and our most vulnerable residents. $200 is a wonderful thing to get in the mail. I always loved it when I got those rebates from the state, especially when I was most in need. My kids were young, husband was freelance, or he was sick, out of work. That rebate meant a lot. But at this point in time, it's a very different time with the federal government. SNAP, food stamps, administration, and caseload support. The bill, the big, beautiful bill, it's really hard for me to call it that, as you might know. The bill expands work requirement rules for, and reduces nutrition spending. So states are already warning about the strain on SNAP, which we administer. That's going to affect us. The 6.5 million that we're talking about giving back to the taxpayer. How well we then make up for the possible reduction in nutrition spending. The TAMP-related services, employment services, childcare from TA families, I already mentioned that. The federal government offsets those and they pay for tax spending and related supports. Typically, this is going to face pressure when this is cut in the big beautiful bill. The county will feel it through increased local shares and higher service demand. A lot more people are going to be asking for services, I see, and that is predicted. Childcare, local district, the CCAP subsidizes, is administered by county districts, and it's heavily dependent on federal funding, and that is most likely to be cut. County Health Department, core public health services under Public Health Law, Article 6. The departments rely on a mixed state aid and federal pass-through dollars. This, I think, is in a vulnerable position, and statewide associations warn that federal cuts would directly weaken county health capacity unless the state-based grant rises. And then, of course, there's the wonderful Medicaid county fiscal exposure, and local systems were responsible for that county Medicaid, and there's a lot of pressure. NISAC has flagged that when federal Medicaid is cut or rules change, costs tend to shift down to states and potentially down to counties in New York. So you get my drift. I can go on and on and on about what this big, beautiful bill means to local governments, and we don't even really know. Oh, there's also the senior resources and what that means for the big, beautiful bill and cuts to those programs. So we're talking about giving $200 to homeowner tax-paying homeowners. Renters do pay those taxes, mostly, I believe in. And yeah, they might be at a disadvantage with this. Those in most need, that age population of 25 to 40 who can't even afford to buy a house in Putnam County and they're renting here, this does nothing for them. And guess what? There's no programs for them. We have programs for the aging. We have programs for children. This age group, I'll say over and over again, how are we going to keep them in Putnam County? So while I do appreciate legislators Yankees' sentiment, I don't think it's going to work right now. I think it's premature. I don't like to do these major things during budget season either, and that's all I'll have to say about that. Thanks.
Anyone else before we go into executive session? Can I say just one thing? I mean, I haven't spoken yet either, but I'll give you the floor last. How about that?
Sure.
There's a few points that I wanted to make, and we talked about a local law and how we have to bring things to Albany and they have to pass things through Albany. Well, we just did that for the towns. We do that for every town and village in Putnam County. We had to pass a resolution through Albany that funded sharing of sales tax, which the legislature didn't get to vote on until after the fact. So that's one. They'll send funding off to the towns before they'll send it off to the taxpayer. I think if it takes 4 months to pass the local laws, if it takes 4 months to take it to Albany, if it takes 4, 5, 6 months, I say let's do it. But first thing we need to do is put the money aside so that we have it available. If it doesn't work out, if the local laws don't pan out, if Albany is resistant, if it's, then it goes back into the general fund. The towns came to every single meeting, and I don't begrudge them for coming for county money to help them balance their budget and start new programs. Every meeting that we had discussing sales tax, this legislature voted to let the taxpayer keep it in their hands. That was vetoed by the county executive, and the towns ended up getting that money in their budgets. It's time for this legislature to put $6.5 million to put it in the taxpayers' budgets. They're the ones who are paying the bills here, the taxes here in Putnam County. I trust the taxpayer to spend their money the way they see fit. If they want to buy groceries, they buy groceries. If they need a payment for their car, they can make a payment for their car. If they need to pay for their child care, it's not going to foot the bill, but it will help. I know that maybe there's no one in this room that cares whether or not they get $200 in their pocket, but I bet you there's a lot of people out there who would love to have an additional $200 in their pocket. And if the county has the savings account sitting here in our coffers, that we can send out to the taxpayer to help these families that are lining up at the food pantry that we see. I was appalled over in Westchester County, one of the richest counties in Putnam County. They're lined around the JV parking lot at the food pantry. We can send this $200 back to them, and we can work pretty damn hard to figure out how to get it back to them. And I am all for putting in the work to do that. I'll let Legislator Yonke.
Thank you. You took a big part of what I wanted to say away. We do have to put the money away first. That is the first step, okay? I don't want to squash a program that would benefit 30,000 homes in this county because of disenfranchising renters. When we had an opportunity to cut the sales tax that would have benefited the homeowners, the renters, everybody in this county, the majority of this legislature was opposed to reducing the sales tax, which would have helped those people that they're so interested in helping today. Legislator Goldman's point, I'm trying to make sense of it because it doesn't make any sense. It says it's never been done before, so that's why we should never do something because it's never been done before. We talk about Ulster County. The reason it failed in Ulster County was because it was brought forward by the minority party and it was kiboshed by the majority party. The first thing we need to do is put the money aside. Going into executive session to ask legal questions about how the nuts and bolts are going to work in the future, to me, is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. We need to put the money aside and let things fall. Let the county executive, he's got to weigh in on it, because if he says no to this, if he's not going to support this is it's dead in the water anyway. And he can weigh in on it between now and the night we adopt the budget. Thank you.
Can I ask just for clarification from the motion that we made to go into executive session? It was seconded, and then we had an amended motion to go in after every legislator had the opportunity to speak. So now every legislator has had the opportunity to speak. Are we now compelled to go into executive session?
And a vote.
Okay, so we're going to continue the discussion. I will, Legislator Crowley.
Thank you. So Legislator or Chairwoman Sage, you just brought up food insecurity. The county just lost a $2 million grant through USDA. So if you want to talk about food insecurity, $1.3 million was used to buy food from local farmers, and then it was brought to Meals on Wheels to feed our seniors and everything else. $700,000, I believe, was used for fuel and travel and everything else, and it came back. And so there's $2 million that we just lost. Okay, so if we want to talk about food insecurity, we can do that. Number two, in this county, we have about 18% of renters. 3,700 of them, approximately, to a survey, are from the Office of the Aging, are seniors. How are we disenfranchising them? We don't give out senior, we do veterans, we do firefighters, we've done them, and thank God, they've given back a lot. But why are we disenfranchising our seniors? I don't understand it. It's wrong. And the kids, our youth. My son's leaving to go into the military because he's choosing whether he's going to, go to college, have weddings, have kids. That's what these kids are up against. We all know that. They have to make big-time decisions because it's not cost-effective anymore. So I don't like the fact that we're disenfranchising selective groups of people that may not be able to afford to own a home. It's not fair. Come do better. Come up with something better. And I think that we need to stop pushing things through during budget season when everybody is overwhelmed and trying to do the best we can for our county. We do this every year the past couple of years. It's fun.
I'm sorry.
I'll pass it on.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Elmer first.
We have a choice between two potential programs. One provides $25 property tax relief per $500,000. That does not help any of the people who Legislator Crowley just identified. None of those people, because it has to do with property owners. I don't know what that total number is going to be, because a significant amount of that is going to be institutions. And those institutions don't live here. They function here. And one institution, because I live in the hamlet of Carmel that I'm not particularly fond of, is the DEP. Because the DEP charges my hamlet of Carmel $1 million a year for water right across the street in Lake Glenida. So, first of all, I want to lower taxes. Second of all, I want to make it effective. Third, I want to reach people and not institutions. And if I may, I have a question for Legislative Council. I'm just throwing out a potential mechanism, as opposed to a rebate check, is a one-time tax credit for the same amount. Is that something that can be done by this legislature?
The general question with all of this, and I would have to look into the decision, so I'm not going to speak out of turn, but the general problem is the gift clause of the Constitution prohibits non-county purpose-related gifts to constituents, and that's really what the problem is. There was a issue in a similar credit, different structure, but in Onondaga County, for example, the New York State Comptroller struck a tax credit that was going to be given to back to homeowners that the Onondaga County government had believed were disenfranchised by the county, in that case for a legitimate county purpose. In that case, it was they had a wastewater treatment plant that was put up next to some people's homes, and they felt that devalued their property, so they were trying to credit them back. That actually had an articulable county function for why they were trying to credit back, and an arguable detriment that the taxpayers, and that still ran afoul of the gift clause of the Constitution, according to the New York State Comptroller. So we have some weighty sort of issues to contend with, despite the very noble purpose behind a proposal of this nature. But in any event, within this structure, it has to be approved through New York State. So it would not only be, we would need to be satisfied that we weren't running afoul, but the New York State would have to be satisfied, and so we would have to probably request an opinion from the New York State Comptroller on whatever structure we wanted before New York State would be willing to get on board and approve it. So it wouldn't be a matter of months, it would probably be a longer sort of trajectory. And so the ins and outs and mechanisms of any of these sort of credit-related ideas would have to pass that muster, and it's just, in my estimation, looking at the comptroller opinions is challenging.
Follow-up question? To council. So if we broaden the scope and we said that every home in Putnam County would receive a $200 tax reduction, that's something that we can do.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of things that go into it. Like, for example, are we talking about taxpayers who are in good standing? Because if you haven't paid your taxes and you're delinquent in your taxes, you haven't paid into anything, so why are you getting a credit back? You know, so we have to really carefully think about and define who are the population of people, and then we have to assess within that population of people who we're going to be looking, are we going to unintentionally have a disparate impact on somebody? Is there some sort of unspoken group that's going to be negatively impacted by this that we're not thinking about? Like, for example, in this particular proposal, we talked about, oh, we're going to propose this for, owner-occupied properties. And, again, that makes sense. They're here. We want to help the people who are here, who are paying into this. However, we've got to think, well, who owns properties but doesn't necessarily live in those properties? Well, Legislator Crowley pointed out renters, that's one group, but the other group is retirees who might have a home down in Florida. Well, that could have a disparate impact on, elderly population of people that we didn't intend. There's any number of other sort of collateral consequences that, despite well-intentioned ideas, we have to think about. And that's the reason to really write these things out, not do these things orally, to sit down, think about the mechanics, to get together with our partners in state government, the comptroller who deals with these sort of questions all the time, to go through extensively, not just a matter of days like I did, but extensively go through the comptroller decisions because they've addressed a lot of these things, and to really think about it. And I mean, I think these are really noble ideas and well-intentioned ideas, but in order to make sure we don't run afoul of things of even constitutional magnitude, I think it needs careful planning and work.
Legislator Montgomery.
So, I want to make sure I say this properly. I would like to amend the main motion that we go into executive session to discuss homeowner tax relief rebate only after all items on the agenda are discussed.
Second.
No reason to keep everybody.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now that motion was just to delay the executive session. We have
And get through
Paul's
everything
motion on the
else.
floor. If he wants to go ahead and, put it to the end, or, I mean,
I don't know why we need to go to
Well-
executive session. I think we should just take a vote.
well, if we're going to vote now for executive session, anytime a colleague has a question and they need to hear from our lawyers, I'm going to vote for it. That's just, I told you how I'm voting on this, but I don't want to deprive any of my colleagues from getting whatever advice they need to make a decision.
Can we do a straw poll?
Well, we can take a vote on to go into executive session, see where it goes.
But we're not going into executive session.
But then he can withdraw his motion, though.
We already took the vote to go into executive session at the end. That passed.
No.
No,
she's made
no
the-
vote's been taken.
Oh,
So,
Just motions, no
So
votes.
we have a
been taken.
motion.
second.
To
Hold on,
delay.
let me
To delay it.
restate the motion, because we already did that motion a second to stave off to go into executive session.
Motion was made by Legislator Montgomery.
Right.
Legislator Crowley seconded it for the delay.
Yeah.
Right.
And you said all in favor.
Favor, yes,
So-
exactly. So it was moved to the end of
So
the
we-
meeting.
But we still have the motion on the floor for the original.
Original motion.
The original, yes,
The
that
original
was my
motion.
point.
That's what
The
I-
original motion is still on the
Yes.
floor.
Correct.
So we can either vote on it now, or there can be another motion for executive session, and we could further, his motion is still on the floor.
We still have a motion on the floor, and
This
that's,
is the main motion.
Yeah, his is
the
the,
main motion is still on the floor, so
So-
we either need a second or we need to.
he's got a second.
Okay.
I would like to amend the main motion. I would like to discuss the main motion at the end of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We'll just, we're going to get to it.
Let's just get the yeah, let's keep moving.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you're right.
That helped,
Yeah.
guys, I don't know. Can you? I hope so.
Remember us next time you're angry with us.
Okay, so we are moving on to, let me get my agenda in front of me. Item number 23. This was something brought forward by Legislator Elner. I will turn it over to Legislator Elner to discuss.
Yeah. Item 23 is based on a request from the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board, who was originally slated for $1,000 to increase their budget to $2,500, an increase of $1,500.
If I might, since this is regarding the planning budget, can we have the Commissioner of Planning come out also to discuss?
And it's page 236 of our budget book.
Thank you. Okay, so what did you want to do with it? Discussion, or do you?
Look, I move that we increase the agricultural board funding from 1,000 to 2,500.
We're on page 236, line 4554. It's in the middle of the page, agricultural board.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, discussion.
Page 246. Page 246.
236.
236.
This is increasing the budget in the amount of $1,500. This is coming out of the planning budget. Commissioner Gross, I'll give you the floor. We had originally had $1,000 slated for the Ag Board.
This is a new line. It's actually even though it's slated as agricultural board, it would still be, since they don't actually have a budget, it would be part of my budget. I'd be doing the tasks that they needed, printing, making promotional materials, and it would be dedicated towards agriculture.
So this is this is administrative type items, I think.
Motion to,
It was education and travel and other things mentioned in the memo.
Travel, I believe, is not covered since they're not county employees. I reviewed this with the auditor, and it's not actually eligible since it is a county department. It has to be county employees that receive reimbursement for conferences, things like that.
So conferences, education, travel, those are slated only for employees of the county?
Yeah.
And should not be considered in the ag line?
I'd have to ask for clarification, possibly from the auditor on that. But
Okay, so I'll, is that your understanding?
County employees. We don't get anything, but as of now, it's not.
Okay, thank you. And since we have I'll ask, and then we'll have discussion after the fact. I would like to maybe hear from Christina Stasi. She's the chair of the Ag Board.
Question? Part of the legislature before we go to the public?
I haven't gotten to the legislature yet. I wanted to hear from the person who proposed.
Usually we do discussion of the legislature, how we do.
Ms. Nastasi, go first, and then we'll have discussion.
So we had discussions at several meetings that Barbara was unable to, several ag board meetings that Barbara was unable to attend, and we came up with the number of $2,500. And by the time that Barbara was able to attend, she had already put in a budget of $1,000. And yes, sorry, I have it here somewhere. $1,000 for training, $500, sorry. Training and education, $1,000. Community outreach, which would be support participation at town days, at the Putnam County Fair, and similar community events, including educational displays, printed materials, trifold boards, interactive learning stations, and then basic operating costs such as printing supplies and other general administrative needs throughout the year. The board has operated for years with no clear awareness or access to any funding. As a volunteer board, we've tried to make it work as we could, and the absence of any consistent or accessible funding has made it difficult to carry out the objectives outlined in the county's own agricultural and farmland protection plan. So in order to implement things that were agreed upon by the things that were passed by the legislature way back in 2007, which that plan is still in effect, in order to facilitate that, we're going to need some kind of budget. So this year we worked to identify and communicate its budgetary needs so we can more effectively fulfill our responsibilities as the advisory board to this legislature. And we're hopeful that the committee and the legislature recognizes how much value this small allocation can bring to the agricultural community as a whole. Even with modest support, the Protection Board can continue to serve as an informed, engaged, and reliable advisory board to this legislature on issues vital to one of Putnam County's most important and historic industries, agriculture. So I know in the past, I don't know where the money came from, but I know in the past when we had an active Keep Putnam Farming, I don't know where the money came from, but there was money to do potluck dinners and some other.
That was the county.
Sorry?
That was the county.
Okay.
That was organized through Lori Taylor through the,
Right.
it was county funding, county money.
Right, so in order to implement some of the things from the agricultural protection plan, we need some kind of funds.
Thank you. Okay.
So currently, I put it in to basically reimburse planning department expenses. If what's proposed is reimbursing for agricultural board, I kindly request that you consider putting them as a separate entity, not as part of planning.
Legislator Crowley.
So I was on a Zoom call, I was zoomed into that meeting, and Mrs. Stasi and I had a discussion about this, but we all on the board had a discussion about creating a budget for the agricultural board. At that point, when this came up, Commissioner Barosa had already submitted and proposed her budget to the county executive at that point. It was then said to come up with, as quickly as possible, I think that meeting was on a Wednesday, as it usually is, by Friday to get it over to you with line items that would be what's needed right for the budget, because we can't just go in there blindly and say, we need $2,500. I also know that, and I know we have somebody here from Soil and Water, and not to throw them under the bus at all.
Throw me under that bus.
But they also have an abundance of money, allegedly. No, I'm kidding. They also have an abundance of money that works hand in hand with this advisory board to help with things of this nature, printing, education, all of those things. So instead of taking from the taxpayers, if we could have discussions, because we do have a rep on the ag board, it would be easily, I'm sure, filled, if not more than at $2,500. We could come up with endless ideas to keep agriculture going, do certain things and working collaboratively together, but without taking from the taxpayers and taking from budget lines that are sitting there unused. That's my own personal opinion. I want to see this board grow, but I don't want to see it at the cost of taxpayers when it doesn't need to be, when money is sitting there idly. And that's how I feel.
Where's the money sitting idly? That's what.
We have Part A, B, and C funds.
Well, this is the ag board, though. We're talking about ag board.
I understand, but it works collaboratively with Soil and Water, and you can, if Soil and Water, who's a quasi-governmental body or entity, yes, can request funds because they work on the board of ag. And in the past, they have also gotten funds from them.
So you're saying,
We have a rep from Soil and Water here and 2 legislators as well that sit on that body. But I'm saying, the amounts that we have were given to us. They were sent as per my request from.
but for this particular transfer, what
Yes.
are you talking about for this particular?
I'm saying that they could work collaboratively and not have to transfer $2,500 out of the taxpayer and take it out of Soil and Water.
So are you saying, just delete this line altogether out of the planning budget?
Well, because we'd have to create a new line, but I think it's important to.
Super quickly, because there is a lot of confusion. Cassandra Rock, Chair of Soil and Water, so super quick. Yes, and I think there is that confusion, so whatever Commissioner Barosa out of that $1,000 in the ag board budget, the concern right now and why that request was hopefully being put in under the department that the ag board is currently under, was to make sure that there is funding to do those farm protection plan things. I would love, I'm sure the entire board would love to use some of our funding that we still don't have access to or know how to utilize, right? To fund the ag board, because you're right, the Soil and Water, Lori Taylor back when she was here, that is a big purpose of the Soil and Water District. We're still working on how to work. So, I support 2,500 be a great start as a number. I don't quite care where it comes from. The Soil and Water Board in the district can fund it, providing we figure out how to fund things. So that's all I want to say. I've been full support. They do need probably more than 2,500 to continue all of those things. The Soil and Water District would absolutely support that.
And I'm in full support of it's just a matter of funding, and if we have it up close to over $800,000 in just one line, we need to make sure we figure out how to use it and make it available instead of taking it from the taxpayers.
Okay, Legislator Birmingham.
Yeah, don't mean to put Michelle on the spot, but is there a way, Michelle, we could create a separate budget line outside of planning? Because I'm hearing from the commissioner that she'd rather not, I don't want to misspeak, but rather anything more than the 1,000 not be in your budget. You did request 1,000.
Well, I was put it in my budget to reimburse myself for doing things for the ag board.
Okay, so keep that there.
If they want to use it for travel, for going to conferences. I don't think it's allowed to be used if it's where it is.
Okay.
So,
That part has to be listed.
Okay. Michelle, is there an ability for us to create a new budget line outside of any particular department for $2,500 for the Ag Board? I hear what Erin is saying, they do work cooperatively with the Soil and Water, but we can't promise any soil and water money to anybody. It's not our money. Or at least they're the board that has to first decide where that money goes. So I don't want to put them in a position by saying, don't worry, farmland, you don't get your money from somebody else. Could we just go ahead and create a line for $2,500, call it Ag Board, and create parameters upon which that money can be spent? Erin's got a point, it is taxpayer dollars, but it's $2,500, which is not nothing, but it's not also a lot of money when we're talking about other things. So that's my question. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
First, we have to research to see if they're able to get reimbursed. And then I have to research to see where they would fall.
Well, suppose we didn't consider it a reimbursement, suppose we considered it a contract agency. I mean, we spent the first 45 minutes of this meeting talking with those folks. No, we could contract with for-profits. I mean, again, we have to remember when we're contracting with people for these outside agencies, it's like we're contracting for the company that supplies us blacktop. We're contracting for the company that provides our accounting services. It can be, the way I view it anyway, the way historically it used to be viewed, our contract outside agencies are performing a service for the county. I would I know for sure, and everyone in this room knows for sure, that the Ag Board is creating or performing a county function on our behalf. And if we can give, X amount of dollars to outside agency A, not give, but contract with an agency to do that, we could probably do it here. And I'm just throwing that out to my colleagues and to you. And maybe council might have a
Legislative
question.
Council.
Through the chair, I would just like to point out that they're an advisory board to the legislature, and so, really this is performing a quasi-legislative function and advising you, so it actually might be able to be aligned within your budget that you are appropriating for, because it is their function is legislative, they're assisting you. Furthermore, if the line item was then created, so now you have a placeholder, then subsequent funding, you could seek through soil and water to fund to offset, so this would be a one-time funding, then you could work to acquire Part C monies going forward.
Well, I joked at our last meeting, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. And we have to be wary of that, I agree. But I think, and there's a motion on the floor, I'm not suggesting to amend it, but I am suggesting to amend it. Is that something that my colleagues would find palatable?
I'm thinking and relating this to the Community Advisory Board for the Police Advisory Board, CPAP, thanks. And that was a legislative initiative. I believe we created that board, and we do create it every year. We don't have that under our legislative budget. It is, we give them funding under outside agencies, I believe, which would be hard to consider the Ag Board as an outside agency because by state law, they provide advisement to the county. And I think in further research, therefore, they would be eligible to get county reimbursement for travel and training. I'm thinking, again, I come from town government, and a planning board or a zoning board or a conservation board that is required to have that outside training that has to be paid for by law. It's kind of weird that we don't require a minimum of hours for the Ag Board. But whatever, we know they're going to be trained because they're passionate about their work, and this is a great group. So I understand that we need to make sure that we're allowed to reimburse them. So I would recommend putting the $2,500 in sub-contingency for a time when we create this line item in the budget, when we research its legality. Does that make sense? I think there's no reason why it's not going to be legal. It's obvious that they're performing a county function.
That's assuming that we approve
Michelle's got
$1,500.
some. Let me.
No, I was just going to say, as council said, we could
say ag board, just as you have in front of you, it says planning department and it has a lot of ag board, so you could just,
And it could be
and I could research it.
ag board travel and expenses, ag board other expenses.
Yeah, and because you've been told appropriations, it would give you full ability to act.
So can we, how do we do that with words?
Just put it on page 1 of the budget,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So right now, can I make a motion to put the $2,500 in sub, can I
But
amend?
we have to do with the motion we have on the floor.
Okay.
A
My
question,
mother said I like to complicate things.
Commissioner Barroso, do you still need that 1,000 which you had?
Well, yes.
No, I mean,
All right.
And the reason I'm,
Took it from your line and put it in the.
so the reason that, I'm sorry, the reason I was asking is, my motion is to increase to 2,500. If hypothetically, we pass it to 2,500 and then do a fund transfer to the legislature, we're done.
That's fine.
And I just want to make sure you're good with it.
But if it has to, we have to talk to our auditor to see what the.
If I may, but with that, are we saying that the Commissioner of Planning has nothing to do with the Ag Board then? Does that mean you will not be,
I'm still on
No, just
that.
a-
okay, but you still need funding to attend, well, it'll be funded through that funding. Gotcha, okay. I don't want to lose Barbara on the Ag Board is all I'm saying, you're very
No
valuable.
one
You
does.
can't.
Yes,
can't.
statutory.
You have a good idea.
Good.
Okay, I'm not sure where we are.
To,
Depend on council so we have a motion
to increase,
to increase to 2,500. That was seconded.
Well,
Now we have a motion to amend.
Well, if people are of a mind, we already have a motion to move it from 1,000 to 2,500.
Right.
An amendment to that motion could be to keep that, and then also, as part of that amendment, to, instead of putting it under the Ag Board, to put it under the legislature. And make
As
that
part of the amendment.
as part of the amendment. So whoever you're amending it, you could include
I
that
made
in.
the original motion, why don't you make the
think
motion?
Okay, I'll make him,
Wanting to amend it to this.
yeah, I'll make a motion to amend, keeping it $2,500 and putting it in the legislature.
Second.
So we're actually fully funding 2,500, we're moving it completely out of planning into legislature. So you're going to go down 1,000, legislature's going to go up 2,500. That's my amendment.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second.
Right, you got to do the amendment first, then the main motion.
So the amendment is
Is to move it to the legislature. All money from from planning to the legislature. That's my amendment.
okay, so we're going to vote now.
On that
We have a
first.
second on that, and we're going to vote on the amendment.
Right, and then we'll go
And then that
back.
will become the main motion.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so amending to move to 2,500 to the legislative line. Yeah, it was seconded by Legislator Elner. I'll do a roll call vote because I want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Legislator Advisio?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley? Yes. Legislator Elner?
Yes.
Legislator Goldman?
Yes.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
I vote yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes. Okay, now we need, we're going to vote on that motion.
The main
That
motion
was
to
just
bring it up to
amended.
25.
The main
Bring it up to
motion to bring it up to $2,500 in the legislative budget lines. Do I have a motion for that?
We already had it
Okay.
moved and seconded.
Oh,
We're back to the original.
So now we're going to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so Ag Board gets their $2,500. It's under the purview of the legislature.
Right.
Moving on now to agenda item number 26. This is a discussion. It's regarding the Cornell Cooperative Extension Ag Navigator position. This was funded on page 251. This was discussed in our Rules Budget Committee meetings. I'll open it up for discussion. Anyone wishing to speak on this for the Ag Navigator position?
If I may, Chairman, I think that we have people here from the Ag Board, and I think we should open up the discussion with them.
Okay, so we're going to allow the Ag Board to come up and have their recommendations, thoughts, comments on an ag navigator position?
Bless you. Any other, I think I saw some other ag board people. Cassandra, again. I had sent a letter earlier to the legislature. I don't know if all you got a chance to read it. All I'm going to do is keep it very simple, very quick, read it as fast as possible because it does just go over in detail. I think it's worth people knowing.
Please speak up.
As chair of the Putnam County Soil and Water Conservation District and a member of the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board, I was writing to express my opposition in the proposed funding and administration of an agricultural navigator position through Cornell Cooperative Extension. This is not an opposition to Cornell Cooperative Extension or its staff. CC has been a long-respected partner in local agricultural outreach. My concern lies not with the individual or the agency, but with the structure and purpose of the position as currently proposed. It's duplicative, administratively unclear, and unlikely to produce the meaningful impact that both the county and the agricultural community deserve for the investment being considered. The Ag and Farmland Protection Board already exists to assist farmers with the Ag District process, resource access, and issue resolution. Unless the role is narrowly defined, as in Dutchess County's complex model involving municipal mediation, it largely overlaps with the board's already existing structure and intent. Creating a paid navigator role risks blurring the lines of authority. It also remains unclear whether the individual would report to this legislature or to the county executive, which could place Cornell Cooperative in a compromised position. By law, the legislature oversees the agricultural district program, which we now know because you very graciously made a line in your own legislative budget. Even the county executive himself has publicly stated that his office and that branch of his government has nothing to do with the ag district process. That is solely the legislature. Adding an intermediary only indicts confusion and weakens accountability. So there is often a well-intentioned desire to create new positions that sound helpful and give the appearance of progress. However, without clearly defined scope or measurable outcomes, such efforts tend to add cost and complexity rather than real value. What may seem like political or public relations can easily become another administrative layer that duplicates the existing work and diverts limited resources from where they could have had the greatest impact. If the legislature wishes to identify a single point of contact for agricultural questions or communication, that role can be designated from within the existing Ag and Farmland Protection Board. The legislature has full authority to appoint any member of the board to serve as their legislative liaison and public point of contact for agricultural inquiries. This would maintain accountability, preserve the structure already established by law, create oversight for legislature, and provide a clear, consistent person for both the legislature and the public to reach without creating an additional paid position. I would encourage the legislature to consider funding an agricultural grants and resources navigator to work in close collaboration with both the Ag and Farmland Protection Board as well as the Soil and Water Conservation District. The Soil and Water Conservation District is one of those bodies that can access and can apply for grants on behalf of that agricultural community, but we would love the help. The structure would maintain Cornell Cooperative Extension's independence while ensuring the position remains focused on technical assistance, grant identification, and measurable outcomes, not administrative mediation or political optics. The district is best positioned to coordinate this collaboration and meaningful funding streams and technical opportunities that currently go untapped. Each year, hundreds of millions of dollars in agricultural conservation-related grants are available statewide to New York Ag and Markets. On a variety of other ones. The funds support farmland protection, soil health, water quality, and farm modernization. Without a dedicated person to track and coordinate these opportunities, Putnam County continues to miss out on substantial external funding that could directly benefit our farmers, natural resources, and local economy. Putnam County is one of the only counties in New York State that has one employee for our district. If that person was working day in and day out exclusively on district stuff, there is no way that person can possibly know all the grant funding. I've tried. I'm a volunteer. It's exhausting. I'm also soil and water and on the ag board and trying to fix decades of, we didn't even know what soil and water conservation district was. The shortening of it is the same thing I think has happened with the ag board. Ag board, soil and water board. It's the soil and water conservation district board. It is the agricultural and farmland protection board. You guys have been phenomenal. You have listened. You have really cooperated so much. And I think Cornell is the best resource for this. I don't love another layer in ag district because we're all still working through that. I really don't love that, but I do like the person that I assume is the proposed person. I do love Cornell. A better resource and use of that money is to help us help the rest of the farms, help everybody and use the ag board to the fullest. There are 11 volunteers. We would love to help. Here every night. The rest of the ag board is usually here. So I would love if that's the consideration. So not to say don't fund Cornell, but my opinion and my recommendation and pleas to change that scope description to be something that really gives meaningful value, because this county could easily get over millions of dollars in funding to put directly into the agriculture food income. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Legislator Elner.
If I may, through the chair, Ms. Roth, I just want to clarify. So what you're saying is keep the same level of funding to Cornell Cooperative Extension. However, what their intention was to be an ag navigator, all those functions and services would be performed by the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board free of charge. And I see Personnel Officer Eldridge is here, so you want Cornell to change the scope of that person to become a grant writer, if you will, to secure grants.
So instead of an agricultural district navigator, it would be an agricultural grants navigator that would work in collaboration with and basically report to the Soil and Water Conservation District, and then we would report to you guys and keep you abreast of all that.
Okay, so through the chair, my question is, this to Personnel Director Eldridge, all help me, because who assigns what the person at CCE's function is? Because the counties would be funding that. Is that completely Cornell's discretion, or is that because the county's funding for a specific purpose?
I think we have someone from Cornell here who maybe can clarify that question, if you'd come up, please.
She doesn't move.
And I'll give the floor to...
She oversees CC. Hello, I'm Ruby Koch-Feinberg. I'm the Ag and Food Systems Coordinator at Cornell Cooperative Extension, Putnam County.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi. Welcome. I can speak to that question that was just coming up and then speak generally if that works. I think because it would be a contract that we would develop, we could certainly outline the requested title, functions, exactly, all those things. And also metrics that folks would like to have. That's certainly something that I can identify. And I think those objectives were already identified. I at least looked over a whole list already. So there's at least written documentation of what the objectives of that role are existing. And it would be a contract, so it would be something that would have to be discussed prior to that happening.
Okay. And what we're talking about here is funding that particular contract with Cornell Cooperative for an ag navigator. So doesn't the ag board currently act as ag navigator? Isn't that not their function here in Putnam County? And would this not be duplicating those services? And also, Cornell sits on that board. So what would preclude Cornell from sitting on the ag board from not advising the board of ag navigator, decisions that would involve ag navigating? I think it's such a duplication of roles here, and I'm just so confused as to. Yeah, that would be great.
But I have the list of the essentially job objectives that I can run through. That would be helpful. But I do know that as somebody who sits on the ag board, we have been explicitly told recently that we are only allowed to be voting on recommendations regarding the ag district inclusion. So I would love for some of those things to be done by the ag board, but currently we are not allowed to do them.
Was that from the legislature? I mean, where did you get this direction from? That you were only allowed to vote on?
That was the, I believe, information from council that we received last year. Yes, I can find the memos, but we have been restricted to only vote on recommendations.
Wait, can I clarify something? You were told you can only vote on recommendations, but they're
To the
your,
district. That's the purpose
but
of
you're,
it.
but they're your recommendations. I think I need.
As the ag board.
I think I'm tired. Yeah, you're recommending. You're making those recommendations about who can be included in the ag district. I get it. The council has stated that is your only responsibility. You can't have any other responsibility, but that clearly is not what the state law says. It says you go out and you educate the public and do all that.
And we tried to go out and do education.
Yeah, we know that.
We were told that we were not allowed to do
Yeah.
that, and our only role was to vote on recommendations.
We can address that.
Yes,
We don't-
but I'm just
I
saying,
don't
so
believe that.
it's not a duplication of services that are currently being done by the ag board or what I'm currently doing in my role as agriculture and food systems coordinator. So that, I can clear that up. Would you like to see? I'll go. I also wanted to mention that Cornell Cooperative Extension is already a nonpartisan organization. That's just how we function. That is our structure. And we work to be the expert on agricultural issues in the area and the state. We also rely on research from the university and bring that to farmers. My purpose is to support Putnam County farmers in everything that I do, and this would be no different. We already currently receive it's about a third of our budget comes from the county, so this wouldn't hugely change a lot of our operations. And I would still be a Cornell Cooperative, or the Ag Navigator position would still be a Cornell Cooperative Extension employee.
So I'm hearing that we could follow state law, and our own ag board could be the navigator and do all things ag as under the purview of state law, and then we wouldn't have to hire an ag navigator. Is that my understanding?
There's certainly some activities that would require a lot more time. I know.
I mean, doesn't-
Applying for grants, looking at grants, searching for grants, that's the same as waiting. But also, it was a lot of connecting with farmers. One of the bullet points off the top of my head is working with Putnam County Tourism and putting on more agritourism revenue-related events for Putnam County farmers.
Is that something that Cornell does already?
Not currently, no. So there's certainly activities that would require a lot more time than volunteers on the ag board would be able to commit, considering they are, most of them, full-time farmers.
Okay. Council has her hand up, and then I'll call on Legislator Crowley.
Through the chair, first, there's references to things that
Yeah.
apparently council said that, I'm council and that I
I have to say that's correct. The memo was signed by me under direct advice from council. It was my signature. That is what they were told 2 years ago. So I know what they're talking about. Prior to litigation. Way prior to litigation.
respectively.
Let's let the council speak, please.
As I said, that first of all, the issue is that the ag board, as we just discussed, is a quasi-legislative board. Its function is to advise specifically as to the ag district. The challenge is in getting advocacy-related educational outside things that could then bias the legislature, which is supposed to be getting objective information. So the advice that was given was that there needed to be subcommittees or other, outside agencies like Cornell or Soil and Water, or all of these things that would take over any sort of advocacy-related activities, because the ag board's function is meant to be objective and advisory. That was
Right. Objective and advisory. Legislator Crowley, you had your hand up.
Through the chair, we do have somebody here from Dutchess County, that's the ag navigator, that I think would be good to hear from. He was at a roundtable.
Yeah, not the ag navigator,
Well,
but.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I just like to introduce myself
Yes,
quick
from
and give you a little
Dutchess
CV. I'm Greg Pulver. I was a legislator. I was town supervisor in Pine Plains for 12 years, legislator for 10, chair of the board for 6 years, 14-year member of Soil and Water Conservation District as vice chair, chair of the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, author of the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan in Dutchess County. So I kind of speak to some of what's going on. It was my, Marcus Molinaro and mine as county executive and chair of the legislature, our idea to come up with the Ag Navigator position. And originally, we hoped that the 4 counties near us would kind of collaborate together and have an Ag Navigator that shared Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, and Ulster. And then we realized that was just too big of a task, and we did contract with Cornell Cooperative Extension for a part-time Ag Navigator. And I think the term Ag Navigator gets lost in the sauce a little bit regarding what their job is. I think the Ag Navigator is, and I'm certainly well-versed in soil and water and the Ag Land Protection Board. We've been sued also in Dutchess County. Is to basically be the clearinghouse and to be the coordinator behind all these entities, including the legislature. I mean, they are impartial. They are certainly an advocate for agriculture, but they don't take a side. They just simply give facts. They are there to, advise. And I don't know where you are with your ag and farmland protection law, but if it's anything like a comprehensive plan or ours, probably should be updated sooner than later. And that person is integral to the part of that ag and farmland protection plan. And if you don't have an Ag Navigator, what we learned, if you don't have an Ag Navigator, for 20 years, our Ag and Farmland Protection Plan sat on a shelf in planning and sat there, and nobody looked at it. Now, I'm not telling you the Ag Navigator goes and grabs it every day and looks at it, but it's the one person that keeps it alive, that makes sure that the things that are kind of important in that plan happen. And in our case, and I don't want to take any more of your time because you probably don't want to hear about what we do in Dutchess County anymore.
This is helpful.
Whatever, What they do is we task them with agricultural education. One little part of what she does in this case is to make sure that our 4-H chapter, our FFA chapters and our 4-H clubs know each other. She also makes sure that the farmers know the laws, the difference between ag district and ag value assessment. It allows the planning department a little bit of leeway in not having to answer some of those questions, or soil and water. In our case, soil and water conservation does pretty much all the district work. And I do agree with you that Part C money is a great thing. It really became so valuable, in fact, and I don't ever advocate this for a small county like Putnam, but in our case, it became so valuable that we created a full-time Ag Navigator position and put it in the budget, and this is her first year in Dutchess County, and I will tell you, in Dutchess County, it's paid dividends. And yes, they do, she does go after grants, she handles the website, she makes sure that the connectivity between agriculture and government on every level, whether it's local, towns, villages in our case too, and the legislature is represented. And I think it's a valuable tool. I'm always here to listen. I don't take sides, I'm just telling you our experiences, what we had in Dutchess, and I find it, and I find working with Cornell Cooperative Extension great. And if you set the contract up the way you want the contract and you want the Ag Navigator position to work, that's what you get. Deliverable outcomes. So, sorry to take your time. Hope I answered anything, cleared up any of your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other legislator? Legislator Birmingham?
Quick question. So it's my understanding, we can't direct what Cornell does. They're a separate entity. We contract with them. And from what I'm hearing, you guys need, the Ag Board needs help with grant writing. And, what's that? I'm sorry, soil and water, I'm sorry, I'm getting them confused. Soil and water needs help with grant funding. And you're an arm of the legislature in a sense. Well, you report to us, don't you? Or am I thinking of ag again? I'm thinking of ag.
Yeah,
again.
involved,
Yeah, please, please.
I'll just stay here.
Please.
The ag board is the advisory body.
Yes.
That reports to you guys.
Right.
And specifically tells you all of the ag stuff you need to know.
Right.
They also have the farm protection plan, which is 20 years old,
Right.
which has literally sat on the shelf, and we found it in a shed at the parks and
Okay.
had to make copies. The ag board is tasked with doing those things, right? But then we're told, not, and this is easy, okay, but in years, the county attorney himself has issued memos that said the ag board's not allowed to do those things. They're only allowed to vote on district, applications. That's not true. The legislature previously made that protection program, which has, Nancy's read it for sure, Ms. Montgomery, you read it. 'Cause
I was there.
At our first meeting here, that's when I heard about it, over a year ago. And it's education outreach, it's what people would call advocacy, because it's the ag and farmland protection.
The town spent time putting those items in, and
The legislature approved it, adopted that plan and said, go for it. And then years and years go by, it sits on a shelf, everyone forgets about it, that's where we are today. The Soil and Water Conservation District Board is the non-legislative arm. We just come and tell you as much as you want to hear about soil and water. And that's an option for us. The state is who oversees us, who oversees our funding, who oversees and tells us you can't spend money on this, you can't spend money on that. So the Soil and Water District comes to you in collaboration to work with the county to tell you all the great things that you love hearing about, culverts and soil and water. But we're not a reporting body, we're not mandated by law to do that, but we love doing that. So I would recommend.
Which one of, if I could, which one of those entities did you say is in need of a grant writer?
So the Soil and Water Conservation District, so that is why the chair sits on the agricultural board, is so
Okay.
that I can tell them all the things they love to hear about soil and water, and all of the money we allegedly get or have. So that is that correlation, so we can find out from the ag board, what are the things that you're hearing from farmers? Soil and Water Conservation District is the one that then goes after those grants.
Soil and water does?
Yeah, the board
Okay.
does, and staff as well.
So-
So having that grant resource for Cornell to come, they are the expert to say they know what grants are.
Okay.
They know through USDA, through NRCS, through New York Ag and Markets, EPF, a bunch of different ones. They can tell us, here's the grant, here's the program. We could go to the ag board, I go there once a month.
Yep.
Tell them about all these funding opportunities, and Soil and Water District is the apply.
Got it. So my question is, though, we shouldn't be negotiating a contract here. That has to be negotiated in, we can't, yeah, I know. But my point is, it sounds like there's some need for some money for grant writing by some entity for these purposes.
I think Cornell is best, and that's why I say that. I say.
Right, but I can't speak for Cornell.
Yep.
You can't speak for
And I
Cornell.
think the reason why that has been, the ag navigator is really being pushed forward is because all of us on the ag board, it's the boogeyman who always said, some of us have seen it in writing, some of us have just heard it for, years, that the ag board's only role in this county is to go on ag district applications, and that's not true. If that is clarified, you will see the ag board do a lot more.
I guess I'll cut to the chase. How much is needed to fund a part-time position to search grants for that purpose? Because we can't decide it tonight, you can't decide it tonight. In the event that something falls through the cracks next year, or contracts negotiations aren't fruitful, is there something we should put in sub-contingency, and if so, how much? Because I think it's valuable that you need this. And I agree that one person that is the one full-time person can't do it all. I mean, this person is doing a lot, and it would be unfair to throw more on that. So that's my question. And it might be a simple one, might be a hard one.
We've had interns for part-time things, so not an intern, so maybe between 30 and 50,000, depending what the tasking is. If it's just grants, I think someone, depending on where they come from, Cornell is really suited for that, so we, as Soil and Water, can work with them too. If we had control of our district funds.
Okay, so this is,
complicated.
it's complicated, it's up for discussion. Commissioner Barosa has her hand up.
Just wanted to say that I would support creating an ag navigator position, whether it's with Cornell or whatever. I think the need going to be reviewing their applications, is the one to tell them what to put into it. And he asked Lori Taylor, did that.
Yeah, she did. She was a guide. Okay, Legislator Montgomery.
I just wonder if there's a compromise here with language. And it seems like we need something that serves the Soil and Water District, who has to report to us. And I'd like you to report on where do the worms go in the winter, because I was looking for some today and I couldn't find any. And I really wanted to go fishing, but anyway.
Maybe Master Gardner could
I'm
help you with
still,
that.
I'm getting to a point here. Yeah. And I think we can simplify it or compromise with language, because we have members of the Ag Board, Soil and Water Board. We have a very adept employee of Cornell Cooperative who we really want to keep, and she provides invaluable resources to the Ag Board. And maybe it's just semantics. I mean, to call it an agricultural grants navigator would imply both things. It would imply grants and it would imply navigator. Should I finish or should I wait for you to go? I'm going to finish, just because I have to keep the thought. And I think that Putnam has a smaller agricultural footprint than Dutchess or Ulster. So a grants-focused position would help ensure that the work produces a measurable financial benefit, while also connecting the farmers to New York State agencies, the USDA, and local grant streams like the Climate Resilient Farming, Farmland Implementation, and the Ag District Enhancements grants, and all that. The word navigator, keeping that, would imply that the stakeholders, the navigator would still help the stakeholders move through the process. So they're kind of doing both. They're the Ag Grants Navigator. The Ag Board still holds its, function as a, what do we call it? Authority on approving those applications. And the Ag Grants Navigator is still the technical staff. So I think it could be very simple by just adding grants to that title.
Council had her hand up.
So just to address Legislator Montgomery's concerns, I don't hear anything in the description of the role that would prevent the navigator from assisting in identification of grants. In fact, I don't want to speak for Cornell, but I mean, it sounded as though they were open to assisting with that. So I think that it really is just a matter of, throughout the contract negotiations, Cornell is aware from the benefit of the Ag Board and Soil and Water's contribution of that need, and I think that that would just be addressed within the contract. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I would be happy to explicitly put in, I assume we're talking about helping farmers apply for grants? So that you're requesting the Ag Navigator position to help Soil and Water apply for grants.
Identify grants
And work with Soil and Water so that there's a clarity on who they work with in the county to avoid the confusion. That was the bigger concern. The legislature, is it Soil and Water, who is it?
Yeah, so I think, at least my understanding of the Ag Navigator position, it would have all of those answers, right? Those things would be clear, and I would be able to direct, or the Ag Navigator would be able to direct the farmer to the right person and provide those answers, so they wouldn't have to then go to the Ag Board, to then go to the Soil and Water Board. It would kind of expedite a lot of those conversations. And certainly, one of the job descriptions could be looking out and passing on grant opportunities that are available.
Legislator Anizio.
Thank you. This is confusing, as Legislator Sage mentioned. I guess I'm asking a question, but I'm also wondering why a role like this could easily be filled from within the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. Why aren't we doing that? The legislature can appoint a member to serve as liaison. So we already have the resources to effectively serve in this position. I can't understand why we can't just appoint somebody. That's my confusion, I think.
Council, do you want to?
I think this was addressed by Commissioner Barosa, and I also raised the issue. It's the neutrality of the board and their advisory capacity to the legislature as opposed to directing people what to do, which could, depending on, and I'm not saying that they would, I'm not saying anyone would do anything inappropriate, but it's creating a separation between the board, which is meant to advise the legislature, and the navigator who would direct them to whether it be soil and water, or maybe it is an issue for the ag board, or, would direct them to the appropriate other entity, or some other entity. It's meant to preserve neutrality.
Okay. Legislator Crowley, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to say, one, as to Legislator Adjournment, I mean, who would you want to take from the ag board to do that?
That's not for me to decide.
Well,
That's
you suggested it, so I'm asking who you're recommending.
I'm not recommending anybody. I'm just stating a fact. I'm stating, and so am I, stating a fact.
So who are you recommending?
I'm not recommending anyone.
You made the recommendation, so.
I said we could recommend somebody. I didn't say I have somebody.
If you could, who would you recommend? That's my
I have no
question.
idea. That's not up to me.
It's just.
Okay, so secondary, the responsibility of an ag navigator, is grant assistance for farmland protection, ag infrastructure grants, regulatory guidance, economic development, land preservation, coordination, advocacy. The funding structure usually is Part A funding under county, soil and water and Cornell Cooperative. That's as per New York State. So that's what I have, and county contributions that can be in kind as well. So all three of those things are often used throughout New York State. With that being said, this individual has written quite a few grants for us in the past and been very successful in getting us a lot of money. And I'm going to bounce back to, if it ever comes to fruition, the money that you guys have too. We needed, or you guys needed, because that's you guys have your own purview of your own financial situation, could reach an outside grant writer. If you needed a specific outside grant writer, you could fund that through the money that's in A, B, or C, correct?
A or C.
You say A or C, okay. So, but, good. So just juggling two different things and saying that, but I don't know who on that board would be qualified and, aside that wasn't to write it, to do all that stuff.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. All right. We all know we need a ag navigator. Last year was the proof of it. We were sued multiple times. We didn't have a clear direction on where or how someone can get on the ag district. So it was really a major issue here. Cornell Cooperative are professionals. They are I call them the agricultural, thing from New York State. So they are it, and I would be very comfortable having an ag navigator be part of Cornell Cooperative like it is proposed.
Anyone else? This is for discussion, so I don't know if any legislator wants to take it somewhere, but right now it's on for discussion, and we have already funded this in our budget until it's voted on. So this is Budget and Finance. If somebody wants to make a motion, they can. Otherwise, we will get on to the next item. We've had a lot of discussion here tonight. We can think about what we've heard this evening, and if anyone wants to make a motion or changes.
My
Legislator Montgomery.
final statement and concern about this, as you heard before, is the, retention of this employee at Cornell Cooperative, is the concern that the Ag Board and the Soil and Water Board, or maybe I shouldn't say board, there are members of those boards that have concerns about this, and I need to listen to them more and listen to Cornell Cooperative, as I've had conversations with Stephanie about this, and also listen to the county executive and his reasons. So there's a lot at play here, and I'm trying to take it all in and understand it and make a decision. Our actions could be to take that funding out of Cornell Cooperative. I don't want to do that. As I said, I think it could be easily solved by just putting in the title agricultural grants navigator. They still serve as the purpose of
If I may,
navigating education to the public, navigating grants, navigating. Go for it.
To help Legislator Montgomery, I believe the issue is additional funding is needed to keep this particular employee. And that's what the suggestion was, that the Ag Navigator would provide the funding so this employee would become a split position. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Yeah, I understood that, and I think there's just a problem with the title, and if a compromise could be Ag Grants Navigator, that's all. And I want to make sure that we hear the Ag Board members, the Soil and Water District Board members, and the members from the employees and the Executive Director from Cornell Cooperative and the County Executive. And your opinions. It's complicated. But we have time.
Did you want to speak on this? I'm sorry, I need to ask for the public, your input on this.
Please.
Absolutely. State your name and the town in which you reside.
Betsy Ryder, farmer in Putnam and a member of the Ag Board.
Mhm.
And I would like to advocate for the navigator. The Ag Board is voluntary, and it serves to advise the legislature. But it doesn't, well, it interacts with the public, and it oversees some of the Ag District members. The agricultural community itself could use the help that an Ag Navigator could provide. It's a little bit more boots on the ground to direct them to the agricultural participants. There's a lot of learning to be done there. I think that Putnam County's come a long way in their agricultural opportunities here, and that a navigator would support that further growth.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to comment? Okay, we have a lot of information, and we will use that during our budget process. Thank you. So we'll move on now to agenda item number 27, our discussion for the supervising public health nurse. We have our Director of Personnel here and our Director of the Health, if you all want to come up and lead us in this discussion. I think we've had some, you've had some discussions. This is
44 in the personnel
44.
section.
Thank you.
44. Thank you.
This morning, Diana and I got together, we went through the matter that is before you, and it was a position that was classified by us. We talked about it, we kind of dissected it in 6 different ways, and I think we came to an agreement on it. I'll ask Brian to provide his insight.
Sure, so I'd like to actually start by saying, thank you for all the support for not only the initial submission, but sort of entertaining sort of this additional request here. So having the opportunity to sort of speak to Paul this morning, as well as speaking to the current supervising public health nurse, I think we were all able to get onto the same page. What we were sort of trying to deal with is the fact that the original intent around the request was really around trying to create a succession plan. And in that succession plan, ensuring that we had the ability for some upward mobility within the division. And I really think, as well as the current supervising public health nurse, the compromise that was being proposed here really does address that. So even subsequent to that conversation, I was able to get confirmation from the public health nurse, the supervising public health nurse, that she was good as well with the direction that we were going. So I think all the parties concerned will be able to sort of figure this out in a way that ensures that, we meet all our needs in terms of being able to fulfill our mission at the health department, and at the same time are addressing what was really the initial intent here around ensuring that there was a succession plan for all the divisions. So I think, with sort of that said, this is not something we're going to be pursuing at this point. We've been able to identify a public health nurse who's going to be a senior public health nurse. So that'll have supervisory duties associated with that. And then there is going to be a new classification for a new title for a public health nurse supervisor. So we have two gradients currently in the current proposal that addresses both supervisory needs as well as a succession plan associated with the nursing division.
What I would like to indicate too is that there are 8 nursing positions. There's currently the current staff, and I hope you received the information that we forwarded today. The current structure is that there's a supervising public health nurse, a senior public health nurse, both that have supervisory responsibility, and then there are 6 public health nurses. The revised plan has a supervising public health nurse at the top, a nurse supervisor that does more of the clinical oversight, and then a reclassification also of the public health nurse to the seniors. So where we had 2 supervisors before, moving forward in 26 we'll have 3. And that was something that was indicated in the documents that have been submitted over the last couple of years about having enough supervision that could cover all the needs of the unit. So we went through it. We had seen this year there was a little bit of a difference, and that was that the person that was formerly the senior public health nurse was promoted or is scheduled to be promoted to a supervisor below the supervising public health nurse. And one side is more of a, I'll say, clinical supervisor, and the other is more of an administrative overseer of the whole unit. So we went from 2 supervisors to 3. There's still the 5 public health nurses at that level, and we think that's, and it's in the description that I gave you. It shows the current staffing, and the staffing is 2026. The other thing I would say is that in all the documents submitted, it was always indicated that this new mid-level supervisor that we have classified is still supervised by the head nurse, which is the supervisor public health nurse.
I did bring correspondence from the current supervising public health nurse, sort of indicating that she's good with sort of the current plan as well. So I didn't sort of know how to sort of get it to all of you, but I have a copy of it here as well, where she sort of speaks to being good with moving forward with the current suggestion.
Okay, Legislator Yonke, you had a question.
All right, so, long story short, you're good with what's in the budget?
Yes.
Nothing needs to change?
Correct.
And the money we put in sub-contingency for the 2025 year, that was hinging on the catapult survey, that's just, we're good, we're
Well,
done.
other than we have reallocated the public health nurses to have a movement from grade 18 to 19 in the 26 budget.
Okay, so that sub-contingency money we're good with.
Correct. And there was a statement made that I was saying that money was being used to hire the recent 3 or 4 nurses. 3.
I don't think so.
It had nothing to do with
Yeah, I don't
it.
think
They
so,
were always
yeah.
the budgeted lines.
Right.
So I never suggested.
I don't remember you saying that.
No, and I didn't say it because I know that that was set aside theoretically to bump up the salaries if we needed to.
That's what I understood. Right, okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator, okay, anyone else?
I have a comment. I'm happy that you've come to an agreement with the supervising public health nurse. As you know, this is something that I've been advocating for a long time, adding a second supervising public health nurse. When I look at the programs that we have and sometimes can't administer in the county, I'm going to advocate for the health department, sometimes whether you like it or not. And talking to both of you, sometimes it's not going to be, and it's going to, make people uncomfortable because it's not what was in line or aligned with what you agreed with the county executive. Sometimes maybe it's my district that has different needs that I see, that maybe I think the health department doesn't see, or if it's like, I really believe in advocating for what I see, and not so much what I'm hearing. I believe that we can have these open conversations and sometimes have these difficult conversations. You're talking to someone who went head-to-head with the county executive in the prior administration because she got rid of the epidemiologist before COVID, and I brought it up during COVID, and they still didn't hire an epidemiologist, and it was just because I had brought it up that it wasn't funded. So I'm going to advocate for the health department, whether anybody likes it or not, and when I hear you say that, maybe some of the positions or some of the asks weren't funded, I'm going to go to bat for you. And it's not going to create an easy situation with you and your boss. And I get that you serve at the pleasure of the county executive, and a lot hinges on that. And that's frustrating for us sometimes because we don't always have access to the administrative employees. And I have seen that change a lot, I have to say, in this administration, and I really appreciate that and respect that. But I want to get for you what you need and what the county needs in the health department. It's really important to me. So hopefully we can continue to have these open, difficult conversations. Thank you.
Just 2 points I would like to come back on, and that is that, this was a classification process. It's a process that we normally do in civil service context. And we did it based on the information that we were supplied with. So the county exec had no involvement with it at all. And the other is that he's on a term. So
I get that too.
And term of pleasure, he actually has a 6 years.
Yes.
Did you know that, by the way?
But things.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
He's picked and chosen by the county executive, and we're really cognizant of that here. We sometimes feel like our hands are tied.
Legislator Birmingham.
A quick question. We currently do have an epidemiologist, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Good, okay.
And-
No, I didn't know, but I just want to make sure we
And
did.
more robust, and
Good,
more
good.
staff.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Not
Data.
thanks to me, though.
No? I'll give you credit.
Nobody, don't give me credit for that.
Anyone
Glad we
else?
do. That's a good
It
point.
happened when Dan came on the legislature.
Yeah, I'll take credit. No, it had nothing to do with
So I
it.
would just say that, I certainly welcome your advocacy. And, anytime that you want to talk about creating additional capacity for the health department, I'd more than welcome those conversations.
I think you're doing a great job. I'm really happy you're
I
here.
appreciate that. And, as an epidemiologist, the trained epidemiologist myself, I'd be more than happy to bring on additional epidemiologists also. But that being said, I really do think, this particular budget really did give us what we needed. And, I appreciate all of you being open to sort of even, bringing this back to the forum for some additional dialogue.
That's great. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. That was a number 27 on our budget. Do we have any other legislator who has anything to propose? Legislator Elner?
Let someone else go.
Go ahead. Legislator.
To make a motion to entertain the Department of Tourism. In their budget, they were asked to come back and speak to us, and
Okay.
they were sitting patiently, so. Page 182 and 183. Second.
I don't know, what was the motion on the floor?
Motion was to hear from the Department of Tourism.
Oh, we don't need a motion for that, do we? They just come up and talk, yeah. We don't need a motion to hear from our
They were asked to come
departments.
back, so they've been very patient. Thank you for your presentation.
What page is yours?
182 and 183.
Good evening, everyone. I was advised at the October 6th, at our actual meeting for economic development on October 6th, to come back to report and send some information along the way and come back to the Finance Committee. So I'm just here to, as requested by the Economic Development Committee, to come back. So that's
Okay.
why I'm here.
I think
I
the
know.
discussion at that particular meeting was talking about
I know.
additional funding
Yes.
for your department so that you could engage in promoting tourism outside of the I Love New York
Yes.
funding sources so that you can expand
That is
your
correct. I know I did email to the legislative clerk the requested documentation you wanted on Thursday, so I don't know if the members had the chance to review it, and if you had any other questions directed towards me or need other clarifications that's why I was asked to come back. So I just want to come back here and see what needs, if anything needs further to be discussed.
I have a
Legislator Birmingham.
quick point, and it has to do with the extra, was it $60,000 for promoting tourism in Putnam County? I think it's money that's well spent, we can do that. But it also will go beyond that. We've got and I was speaking to our auditor a little earlier today about this. We have a resolution that was passed by the county this legislature in 2011 with respect to our sign policy, and it's kind of outdated at this point because it just deals with signs and things like that. And I gave the example back in the Economic Development Committee meeting about, we used to see these commercials, I can't get these two states correct, either North Dakota or South Dakota, Governor Kristi Noem. She used to be on TV. I'd see it in my living room. I'm sure you guys have seen it at the time too, where, hey, I'm Governor Noem. I'm, here to tell you to come to North Dakota. Or,
Got my hard hat on.
Yeah, she had a cowboy hat on and everything. And that was, I'm sure, produced well within the law of that state. But we have a sign policy here in Putnam County, which I think is working out great, where we do not allow Legislator Dan Birmingham's name to be on any sign other than office directories, letterhead, business cards, of course. And now that we're getting, again, this is almost 15 years old, this resolution, now that we're getting into things like social media, cable, broadcast, electronic media, print media even, I think it's important. I'll be bringing this before I'm not going to put it out tonight. I'll be happy to share it with anybody, but I'm going to amend this, make a motion to amend this resolution at our full meeting to kind of update this resolution to make sure that any tax dollars, any county dollars, whether it's out of tourism or any other department, kind of follows this, but in a more modern way. Again, so that, none of us or no other county elected would be able to use funds for that. So I just wanted to put it out there. Again, it touches on your department partially, but this would be intended to go across all departments so that, none of us can, Legislator Dan Birmingham isn't accused of using taxpayer dollars for political purposes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Come to visit Amy Sage in Mapac.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
No, but that was not paid for with taxpayer dollars.
Well, you had it, I'm just
Any-
laughing.
Who could resist
that
the
was-
space,
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm not sure where they are, but you see them periodically. Throughout the county, we see cleaned up by,
Yeah.
multiple different people. We should review that program, either get rid of those signs or start it up again, and have a price tag on that if we start it up again. Because I drive by some all the time. I'm not going to mention names, but I sit there and laugh and go, okay, you guys are getting free advertising, and, it is what it is. So something we should really review.
Bill, we did discuss that in 2011. In fact, it's part of this resolution. It says resolved that notwithstanding the foregoing, which is to get rid of all the names on public signs, notwithstanding the foregoing, a program open to the general public, such as the Adopt a Road program, which I think you're talking about, may provide signage to display a person's name or a department, but in no event shall the title of that public officer be displayed on the sign. And the word we got back then from the law department was that if we were to, there was a legislator back then who represented the district. It was District 9, Tony Fusco. And this was all discussed in public, so he took advantage in a good way of that program and was very diligent about cleaning up the road. And we were advised, and there were some of my colleagues at the time who said, well, he shouldn't be able to do that. And we were advised by the law department at that point that would be a speech, an impermissible speech restriction or disqualification, because it was open to the general public. We couldn't put his title on it, but we could say Tony Fusco. So
Not to
perhaps
mention-
there's been a different view of that, and I'm not going to put it on the spot, but we did think about that, but certainly I'm willing to readdress it and rethink about it, as always.
I know on 301 and Beach Hollow Road, there's a sign, a political sign.
Okay.
Cleaned up by, I'm not going to mention the organization.
Phillipstown
Also a
Democrats.
former
Yes,
legislator.
that's the one.
That's fine, we can't restrict that. We can't restrict that.
Also a former legislator has a business with that individual's name on it.
Why can't you say
and
that?
that's over in multiple different places. So,
Legislator Crowley.
we've done a lot in
Food for thought.
14 years.
Thank you, Chairman. Number one, I hope that goes through committee and not just is presented at the full.
There's
because
plenty of time to
we'd
go
like
through
see
committee, sure.
Full transparency.
Yep,
Number
sure.
two, Tara and Tracy have been here all night. We did ask them for ample, information. They're sitting here. Do we have any questions for them? It would be unfair.
Yeah, I mean, I think I made many comments during the last budget meeting, and I'll say it again, and I go back to everything I've said for the past 7 years. Obviously, we need to promote tourism, and Putnam County, you've been doing a great job at it, and the partnerships you've maintained and created have been great. Again, I always would like to see tourism funding, some of it go toward infrastructure and accessibility for tourism. I mean, we have new amenities in Putnam County, the Veterans Museum, and we're funding it from different pockets. We just funded a lot of different outside organizations through, very modest sums of money, but tourism is driving people to these places, and we need to fund tourism in a way that it can also support the infrastructure that it drives people to. That's all I'm always saying. And I'm always going to advocate for that. I want that I Love New York money to go for that, instead of going to outside counties or, places outside the counties. They already know about us. They know about us. It can't close that up anymore. Come to Cold Spring.
Anyone else?
Can't get through.
I mean, I understand what you're using this money for. I think your predecessor had also advocated for this type of funding that's outside of the I Love New York, so you're not strictly tied to certain advertising. And from what I understand from when you came here, you wanted to maybe be considered with other counties and be, and it costs a lot of money to be on a multiple county listing or.
Yeah, there's opportunities, whether it's through Hudson Valley Tourism or through NYSTA, which is New York State Tourism Industry Association, that other counties, they don't use their I Love New York money. They use their non-matching funding to participate in these co-op opportunities. And these were co-op opportunities that our county has missed out on because we didn't have the financial means. And we understand that, like, again, it's in our last conversation that we had the economic development. I'm not trying to compare ourselves to Westchester, to Orange, to Dutchess and Ulster and Rockland. I mean, their structure and stuff is far different. They have far more commercial attractions, but we have a lot of appeal that people do appreciate when it comes to Putnam County, with its arts and culture, with its rich history, with its great outdoors and nature. So this is a great way to be able to highlight opportunities, not just, I know your concern, Legislator Montgomery, the western side. We can't always control that narrative. The other outside groups are attracted to Cold Spring, but we also want to be able to utilize to show the other opportunities that are just as valuable on the eastern side of the county or the north or the south. Like, we want to show a broad spectrum. So that funding, that non-matching funding through the county advertising line allows us the abilities that we can do those kind of type promotions. And then we don't have to rely on the regulations of I Love New York getting their approval. We know, for our tourism department, we know our county, we know our local non-profits, our agencies and all that. We know what's a great way how to advertise them. We don't want to be constricted from just stuck to I Love New York funding, because we know we're not going to always be able to rely on them. This is an opportunity using this kind of funding that we be able to do things that we couldn't be able to do.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, it's in the budget, it's here, it's $60,000 for advertising. How would we quantify that next year? Say we want to we'll let you have carte blanche with the $60,000 plus the I Love New York funding. How would we quantify that next year? How would we understand that the county taxpayer is getting the bang for their buck, that this is warranting, that it's warranted this investment? How can we see, you know what I'm saying? How can we see?
The ROI, essentially, for the fund?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, that's the great thing of our evaluation through the Hudson Valley Impact the report, the one that we did for 2024. That you received that packet, that is done by branched out through Empire State Development. They worked with Tourism Economics who focused strictly on visitor spending. That is not attached to the residents. That is strictly outside visitors. So that's an example to show the kind of ROI you will be getting.
And so if next year it doesn't pay off, then we could have
to
reconsider.
Again, if that's the case, I'm hoping, I can't determine that. I mean, there's different kind of variable. But again, I do believe if we target it right, target it appropriately, we should see the investment, whether it's just a million increase. But the goal is just to always keep increasing that funding and helps offset the taxpayers. As if you saw page 26 of the Hudson Valley Tourism Report. Apologies, I'm just going to get the report out. It's on page 26. Pages 22 to 26 of that report goes into the Hudson Valley region in detail, breaking down in comparison to all the other counties. And on page 26, it does state like the following statement, where if it not for tourism generated state and local taxes, the average household in the region, we'll say for Putnam County, which was $303 per household, it would not be able to, they would have to pay that additional $303. So it's like this, the more we invest, the more that we promote, encourage people to come into the county spending, whether it's spending towards our boutiques, our restaurants, into our lodging, then that will help this offset, help the taxpayers.
I mean, for me as a taxpayer, I'd like to see impact, and I don't like to see, I mean, I'm just speaking as one. I don't want to see a line of $60,000 and then the next year it's going to be $65,000. Every year it's going to be increased. We have a new line in, and we don't understand the impact. So if it doesn't work, would you be okay with us pulling it out next year? That's the thing. We don't want to fund something into perpetuity if it's not going to benefit the taxpayer. That's my concern. Legislator Montgomery.
Yeah, I think tourism benefits the taxpayer. Again, my problem always with just tourism promotion is just that. It's just tourism promotion. I'm not saying we don't need it on my side of the county, and maybe there's a compromise here. And if we call it tourism promotion and development, that way we're not just locked into it always being for tourism. You can maybe support somebody with their visitor center if they need a new sign at a trailhead, if the rail trail needs something and we need to use tourism money for it. This line item, $60,000, could be, so we're not just locked into promotion as we're creating just what New York did with the I Love New York money. We could just use it for promotion. Why can't we call it tourism and development? So I make a motion to change this line item to say Putnam County Tourism Promotion and Development.
I'll second. And it would be up to the chair of next year's Economic Development Committee to maybe get a report at each committee, like a lot of committees do. At the Rules Committee, we get a litigation report. At the Audit Committee, we get an unemployment report. Maybe to have a report each month. And I know you're there quite a few months, quite a few of the meetings, but maybe to have a discussion at each of the ECHO meetings to discuss where some of those resources are being spent, whether it's promotion or development. And that would help keep us in the loop as far as monitoring the funds and to see that it's just not duplicating the I Love New York program, but also taking care of those capital improvements that might help our partners in tourism.
If possible, and I understand that's.
Yeah, and you're in a lot of our meetings anyway, so
Yeah, and
I appreciate
you
that.
provide that, the
Yeah.
pamphlet that you guys produce and send out. And I understand it's not possible to, but maybe next year, there could be a discussion at the budget meeting about maybe what's in store for the following year, if there are any development projects or asks that you have, so we can justify the $60,000 again.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second on the floor, and so I guess we'll have a discussion on the motion that was made and seconded, changing the line from advertising to advertising
And development.
and development for
We're just
tourism.
not locked into what I Love New York locks us into.
Well, that's what this whole line is for.
Yeah.
So you would just, instead of just
I did.
flat out advertising,
If there's a possibility, like that, say.
Encourage development.
Somebody who has a visitor center comes before us, or the tourism, and has an ask, or like, the Village of Cold Spring has asked the county for help with their garbage removal on, the handful of days where it's unbearable, things like that, that they could have the ability to support that if they so choose.
so I'm going to ask our auditor, I don't know that garbage pickup should be or can be considered in tourism. I mean, I have a street fair every year in Mayapack that's.
I'm just saying in general, like, let tourism decide. It could be funds to support tourism, marketing, visitor services, infrastructure, signage, and other projects to promote or enhance tourism. Yeah, Tracy's got something.
Okay, Tracy.
If I may, through the chair. I think an example that maybe would be palatable to most is when we had to create a QR code to help out that Breakneck Ridge is closed. Or create signs, which we hope we never have to do again, about distancing and mask wearing during the pandemic. Or advocate, which I know is probably not supposed to bring up here, but I will because I think it's the state or the Metro North. We would like the trolley sign to be moved so that it tells people it's in the main parking lot. There are advocacy things that are helpful. One thing Kara's working on right now is making sure that I Love New York knows where all the handicap and ADA accessible things
Yeah, so like we were just told, thank you. One of the things with I Love New York is they're starting to do their campaign with showing locations that are handicap accessible and educating people. I'm glad to hear, actually they left, so Basketball and Garrett Art Center are taking advantage. This is an opportunity to educate not just outsiders in the county, but also the residents. Not all the residents probably will be aware at the moment that this initiative is actually happening. So our department is not just trying to, we do advise outside people coming in, but we also advise, give notice to the residents as well, which we do notify residents. I mean, we were in touch, anytime the Putnam Health Department is communicating outside about, say, the flu shot or important information about, I know they did a promotion for Halloween for, safety candy. We promote that, just, educate, hey, it's a help to that department out. If the Bureau of Emergency Services are putting out stuff about accidents, and that we promote that as well. We share that around to the visitors coming into the area, as well as residents, hey, avoid this location, there's a serious motor vehicle accident. When they promoted the aspect of the state burn ban, we promoted that as well to make sure that the residents, as well as outsiders, don't be coming into our county and do anything reckless. This is our way to be able to help in showing some safety initiatives. I mean, we do work with the EDC and IDA with anything. We try to help any way possible to help with encouraging their initiatives as well. That's our department. We all work, the three of us work together with
in this line, the $60,000. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just wondering if those are tourism. I want to talk to our auditor and see what is acceptable for this particular line.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that might be acceptable and might not be acceptable, and
but you know what?
Encompassing.
If I could, at this point, it's really just a motion and a second to broaden the scope, and I can tell you, Michelle is very eagle-eyed about not allowing things that are not permissible to be paid for with county funds. I think if it had just remained this line as advertising, I think that would unnecessarily hone in or hew in the purpose of these funds. I mean, it is, like it or not, a new county program that we're doing here, and I'd like to see it, as Nancy said, be a little bit broader so that it's just not advertising. And if there is something that is impermissible, whether, could be some of the things we're talking about tonight, that they won't be, they won't get by the goalie, who is Michelle. I know that, so. Oh, is there a number that would? Advertising has a specific, yes, we may have to do the, instead of the 4822 line or whatever it is, make it a 1920, whatever it is. Okay, but that's a.
Can we call it promotion instead of
Tracy.
advertising?
Walsh has.
Sarah, I'm sorry to talk to you back. I think that it was brought up at the October meeting too, respectfully, Legislator Elner, I want to allay your concern. I think this reason, and Michelle can advocate or tell me that I did wrong, is when Commissioner Carlin and I were sort of going through the kind of lines, right? And some of you were here, and you were wonderfully helpful when we moved it into the county, like what kind of line should we have? And that's why the Finance Commissioner recommended that we do have a miscellaneous line so that when auditing comes back to us and says, never really, now we've had it for, the 6 years, but we haven't had tourism, and this can't come out of this line. So let's take it out of miscellaneous because we agree and everybody agrees that we want it. And I think that's why it wasn't a placeholder to fund other things. It was to make sure that when we went to auditing that we are really following proper procedure. Is that about right?
Yeah, sure. No, you're not bad.
No, we just, again, we want to make sure clear transparency in how the funds, so it's really, that's what it is.
We never bought, nobody in the county had ever bought, we didn't need office furniture. We're like, well, can we buy this? They're like, no, you have to buy furniture. We're like, well, we need to buy these things to bring to tourism shows. So we made a new line. So
So this would be an advertising and
I would call it promotion.
I'm just saying that's why we have a miscellaneous.
promotion, tourism development, and then whatever that encompasses with our auditor and how we'd work that out. So we have a first and a second on that motion. We had discussion. Anyone else wish to weigh in on this?
Are we clear on what we're calling it?
I think we're going to work that out with the auditor to encompass
Instead of advertising, but that's just me.
advertising.
Way to get around the comptroller.
Yeah.
You say promotion and
Development.
Promotion and development, then you'll figure out the gap line. We need. Yeah, promotion and development, for now. Might change.
Any further discussion on changing the line name? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adenazio?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley?
Yes.
Legislator Elner?
Yes.
Legislator Goulman?
Yes.
Legislator Yaki?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Legislator Birmingham?
Yeah, I have other item. It's really not a change in anything. I'd like to direct my colleagues to the personnel budget, page 1. We have 2 new lines there, which are part of the budget.
We're done with.
Oh, I'm done, okay, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, thank you.
No, sorry, just wanted to make sure.
You can stay if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you.
Page 1.
Yeah, I just want to point out, and I'm very happy to see these in here. I know you and the minority leader have worked hard on it. I'm glad that we, in the budget anyway, are going to have funded a majority council and a minority council for certain amounts, for certain amounts of money. I did want to point out, though, that these amounts there of $96,000 and $50,000 can be considered not to exceed amounts. In other words, obviously, this is going to have to go through a process next year. We can't do it before January 1st as far as choosing anyone, but we can certainly set a process up, and there will be a special rules committee meeting on Thursday outside of the budget process where there's a proposed local law to implement a procedure. But I did want to point out that those numbers there are not to exceed amount numbers with associated fringes, so that if we find somebody who, whether it's the minority or the majority, find an attorney who might not want to be full-time but still wants to be an employee, less than part-time is the word we call it, or less than full-time. Just wanted to let you know that my impression is of this anyway, that these are not to exceed numbers, so that if somebody shows up that the minority or majority is in favor of, but they say, we don't want 96 because I only want to work 20 hours a week, it can be less than that. So that's the only reason for me pointing that out. I'm not making a motion to amend or anything, just wanted to get that on the record, and to invite people to come Thursday night at the Special Rules Committee meeting.
And I also want to point out that these are considered part-time positions without fringes or benefits or health benefits attached. So it's this number and not to exceed.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's Legislator Elner.
Yeah, I have an item here. It's page 249 of the budget book, soil and water, line 439-101. It shows that and I believe we still have people from finance here. I see, yes, okay. This is being shown as incoming funds. And it was stated that these are funds from Soil and Water Part A.
Yep.
To the best of my knowledge, this has never even been brought up at the Soil and Water Conservation District, and it's never been voted on. So what I'm proposing here is that money, it not be reflected as an incoming $60,000 of revenue, but $60,000 has to come from the general fund. I've spoken, and this employee does primarily, if not all of their work for DPW, and I spoke to the commissioner of DPW this afternoon, encouraged to by the chairman, and he said that he was unaware that that $60,000 was coming from Soil and Water Part A funding. So my motion, and I need some help, Michelle, to get this correctly, is I would like to decrease the revenue by $60,000 and take from the general fund $60,000. And I see we have a few people from Soil and Water here.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think, I'll second it to this understanding. Michelle, all we would be doing is decreasing the revenue of $60,000, and we wouldn't need to take it from anywhere else. It would just fall into the delta between our appropriations and our revenue estimates, and it would either come from, we could take it from fund balance to make it, we're going to, at the end of next week's meeting, Michelle's going to give us, as we all remember, a list where we are in relation to the tax rate that was given, or the tax levy that was given to us in the tentative budget. If we go over or under, we can make a decision that, okay, we're going to take more out of fund balance, or if we've got more revenues than the county executive estimated, we can decrease them. So I think we would just, what I'm seconding, if it's your motion, is just to decrease that line by $60,000, and then at the end of the day, next week, when it shakes out, we may need to find that in fund balance or some other cuts. We may already have enough cuts here that takes care of it. We just won't know till next week.
Okay. And the other part of this, which I'm reading the charter here, 7.046, where it says estimated revenues in the tentative budget shall be classified by accounts and units of the county government, and it shall, which means you got to, show sources of income and shall contain the following. A statement of all revenues which it is estimated will be received by the county during the ensuing fiscal year, except from taxes to be levied. And here's the one where, Dan, you and I have had a statement of all unexpended balances, if any, at the end of the last completed fiscal year, which are available to meet the expenditure requirements of the ensuing fiscal year for which the tentative budget is being prepared. Now, those funds have direct impact on what Legislator Yonke. I'd like to know how much we got in the kitty.
Well, I don't think that, I'm not sure that means that, because we don't have the final audit yet. unfortunately.
That's
Yeah.
the
We have
problem.
We have the tentative, we have the estimated.
And also Legislator Crowley a few weeks ago asked the Commissioner of Finance to come up with a statement regarding soil and water account, and to the best of my knowledge, nothing has been produced. I mean, can we get a trial balance? Can we get something?
I'll give you my Post-it note.
I through the chair.
Let's say,
I did ask, I received, we spoke about this, Diane, you and I, and Beth, I received basically just the numbers I didn't get, and I know, Michelle, you sent it too, but I asked for a ledger. And I didn't get a ledger. I got just the balance of 2, not 3. So that wasn't the request that I asked for. I wanted to see a ledger to go off of it so that they have some sort of bookkeeping and accounting. So this isn't just hand you a number and say, here, you have this. You know, they have to report to the state. So there has to be something from last year where it was reported, right, in order to get that funding, and then to this year to get that funding, and there's got to be some in between. So whoever has that, I did ask for it, and I just got a number, which is no different. I want a ledger from the past year for A, B, and C.
Yeah,
I mean, it should be longer than a year, and this isn't on you. This isn't on you at all, and I don't mean to, but I did ask for it several times, and, you know, it should be something that we have readily on hand that we can keep track of.
Through the chair, the people from finance, can you help us out?
It's something we can look into, and I can definitely.
can you state your name? I haven't met you before. Alex. Oh, okay.
I lost my grade.
Oh, you're famous.
We can look into it and definitely get back to the information.
And also, thank you for staying through the entire meeting. Very much appreciated.
Any further discussion on this item? What we're doing is taking it out of,
Just decreasing estimated revenue.
Decreasing revenue from the source of soil and water funds, Part A.
Second line on the soil and water.
Legislator Crowley.
Can we wait on that till can you guys get us this ledger by the next
Yeah.
meeting and wait on it? I would like to see it.
Yeah, here's, if I could.
It's never been presented by the Soil and Water Board and voted, and they have the total authority on those funds.
If I could, there's something in our section 707 of the charter, and or either that or in our decentralized budget, and this goes back to 2009, the county executive can't put revenues in a budget where another entity has to approve those revenues. And I'll give you the context how this came up. Again, getting back to 0809, which again was a tough time for the county budget. The county executive at the time, our sales tax was 0.5%. Those were the days.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Okay.
our sales tax was 0.5%, and in his budget, he put in revenues that would assume a 1% sales tax rate. It hadn't been introduced by the state legislature. He said it would be, and we pass it, we need it, we're going to have it. And a lot of us called that back then phantom revenues. We can't have phantom revenues in our budget. And this isn't as egregious as that, but it's my understanding that the $60,000 has to be provided to us by an entity that hasn't voted for it yet. If I'm wrong in that, let me know. But if an entity is supposed to give us money and there's a deliberative process and a vote that has to take place, we can't count it in our budget. I mean, that's what we passed in 09.
and the entity that you're speaking of that hasn't passed,
Soil and water.
is the soil and water.
I'm assuming.
Well, their treasurer's here.
That's my
Because the
understanding.
soil and water, this is a soil and water.
Right.
Conservation District, yeah.
Legislator Goldman, did you have it? Okay. Council.
Through the chair, yeah, I mean, that's correct. If it hasn't been appropriated by this quasi-state agency, if they're a subdivision in New York State, they haven't given it to the county. It's not, we can't count on it as revenue, so to speak. It's not county revenue. And I actually did have an opportunity to speak with council at Ag and Markets, specifically on these concerns surrounding soil and water monies. And, they did specify that, they leave it to the counties to provide oversight, if they want to. some counties, like Dutchess, for example, the monies go directly to soil and water. You know, they said that they're not going to step in insofar as if we would like to provide oversight because this is how we've been structured. However, we can't be an impediment to them having usage of their money. That this is in fact earmarked New York State money that is for specific purposes, and they said that in the event that they learn that our soil and water, conservation district is not being given access to these monies, they're going to stop funding. And so, that would be a huge detriment to the county in the event that we lost funding on something that really should be fixable. This should not be something that is taking months and months of time to intervene with. The Part A funds that we're discussing, I have no doubt they probably will vote to pass and do it, but they need to have that process happen, and then it can be so designated. And I understand that due to the fact that they did not have a president or treasurer for some period of time, that the process was somewhat lost, and that's understandable. But now they do have a president, they do have a treasurer, and they do have support and oversight. And so I think we really just need to, appropriate these monies from their line item to an action item so that they can get to work, helping programs within the county, some of which they've already presented to.
But, I mean, in doing so, I don't want the legislature to lose financial oversight for monies coming into the county. I don't think we should give up, our role as legislators in foregoing any oversight of funding.
The role is that they've come here, they've shown the programs, they actually have presentations from programs that they, indicated they had interest in funding. And so now we're at the stage where, as part of that oversight, the monies need to be appropriated to them so that they can then use it for those programs that they presented to us. No one is suggesting, nor did New York State indicate that we had to give up oversight. It's just, it's not county money. We don't have control, we just have oversight. And so, as part of the function of that oversight, we can't be an impediment. And that's sort of what has happened so far, is we inadvertently, through no fault of anyone's, just misunderstanding and a long time of not having, the role still, we sort of lost sight of appropriating that money to someone else, and that's what we've done.
Yeah, in this amendment, I'm sorry, just a quick.
I'll let you have Crowley next.
Thank
Yep,
you.
yep, go
I
ahead.
appreciate Sharon's age. So I have a question regarding this. So last year, we appropriated funding to an employee, and we asked, I think myself, I requested to see an actual physical letter from Soil and Water approving the funding for this person's salary. How can this happen if they didn't vote on it?
Well,
I'm bringing that up. So like, how are we paying for something that they didn't vote on? And is that,
Well, I could answer that. I mean, the Greg's motion and my second only has to do with the revenue side of the balance sheet. We're not decreasing any appropriations here. We're still, this motion does not decrease any appropriations. It just merely says we have not been given indication that there's been a vote to give us $60,000, and under our rules, we can't estimate it. Now, that doesn't mean the appropriations go down. We still have to find the money somewhere else.
I don't mean to cross-talk to the chair. So is this 60,000 that we're talking about, that's the funding for that position?
No,
That was-
it's just
What about
revenue.
that?
Well, it's just revenue coming in. I mean, it's fungible money.
I
And
understand.
there's, to my knowledge, there's no contract that commits specific revenue, unlike the tourism program, for instance, where with I Love New York, we have to put it for somewhere. Now, this money can only be spent for soil and water stuff, but in our budget, we appropriate the money and we hope to get revenue to cover it.
Right, and I understand that part. My question was secondary to that, because it's not there, so we don't have the budget in front of us from Soil and Water. How do we have the purview to vote to give funding to an employee of the county without a vote from the Soil and Water Board?
I think that's a concern, and that's what we're talking about right here. Go ahead. We have our soil
Again.
and water.
Soil and water. I've
never known so much about soil and water.
So I think I can clear a lot up really quick. So Part A, so that's $60,000, just to say, that is specifically earmarked from soil and water, from the state. You can only use it for administrative, for staff, or things like that. When it goes into the way it does now, which is just as revenue, that's not a usable expense. It can't offset anything. It has to be earmarked specifically for those things. To that end, that's part of why that problem is. So even as a board, we couldn't say it, lob it into the budget, because then the Soil and Water Conservation Committee and the District Aid Program, that's not an authorized use, because in theory then it would be as revenue, not a direct reimbursement for administrative staff is allocated. I know there is the confusion, so I did send earlier today, I sent the correspondence from the Executive Director of Soil and Water Conservation Committee. And the 2 points I want to outline that I hopefully clear a lot up is that there's a lot of words in it, but it was per the New York State Soil and Water Conservation District Law, districts have the authority to establish revolving fund accounts for specific administrative and operational purposes, which may be carried from one fiscal year to another. Most districts in New York State maintain their own financial accounts that are used to support district operations and administrative needs. And according to the Office of the State Comptroller, approval of the county board of the legislature is not necessary to expend district monies. So that is from the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Ms. Savisi is now getting in contact with them. I think we're on the right path again. Middle of budget season, didn't want to do this to you guys, but the 60,000, not only did the board not vote on, not know about, didn't know we were part of the legislature because the Soil and Water District Law we wouldn't be, but also we couldn't say, here's 60,000 for you to allocate as revenue, because the district law says it has to be used for exclusively administrative things, and right now it shows it's revenue.
So both the state law and our own 707 say we have to take this out.
And just to echo what Ms. Sander had said to the chair, is just that I did speak with Ag and Markets Council specifically, and they had said, as she indicated, that in most counties, the monies go directly through. However, they specified they also understand that from the beginning of time, it has gone through this process, and then they said that as long as we are overseeing and not impeding their use of funds, they didn't have a fundamental problem with it going through this way, and then gaining the benefit of county, resources, because they are small at this point, but they said that they had to have access to their funds. This is state monies, and they had to make sure that we were not impeding their access.
Thank you. Go ahead. Hi.
Just very quickly, I promise to be quick. Brett Yaris, Vice Chair, Treasurer of Soil and Water. Because I want to speak to all of this, and most of this is the concern of oversight or potentially removing oversight. And the good thing is that the state, when they first, in the 1940s, came up with soil and water conservation districts, actually thought about this. Because they wanted these districts to be able to operate outside of the political world. As legislators and county executives change, these districts are supposed to still operate with these state funds so that they can help the landowners and the taxpayers. And so the way that they built in oversight is that there are every district in the county in the state must have 2 sitting legislators on its board. That is the built-in oversight to every single district in the state, no matter how other boards are structured or anything like that. The other part of the oversight is that only this legislature, not the county executive and not the board itself, can appoint members to that board. That is the oversight that the state has built into this process. As our county attorney just noted, that the legislature doesn't have any ability to prevent the use of the funds anyway, right? So the oversight here is merely just simply as a pass-through. And as I've articulated, I hope, enough times here in front of you guys, that process has created a pretty significant time delay. Legislator Crowley has articulated that it's taken months just to see the ledger. I made the joke about the Post-it, and I apologize for yelling out of turn, not going through the chair. I wasted my opportunity to say through the chair. But these are the things where we talk about it. All of you at one point or another in this room have talked about the slowness that the government operates with. And so these are some of the challenges that we face. And if the concern is a lack of oversight, I just want to remind one last time, that oversight is built into the process. The state built it into this back in the 1940s. No district, no soil and water district in the entire state can operate without 2 sitting legislators on it presently at all times. And I've had the privilege of serving with Legislator Elner and Legislator Russo, who have been great additions to that board. They provided great oversight. We've had meetings and you can watch them, where we've had questions about the process, and they've been great resources to us as legislators. That's where that oversight comes from. And only this body, you guys, can appoint people to the board. Myself, very grateful for being appointed unanimously. So that's the legislative role here, and all we've been kind of suggesting here is how can we get efficient access to these funds so that we can use them for what they're for? Because as you heard, if we don't start doing that, we are going to lose it. And it can be crucial funding for a lot of landowners and taxpayers. I just ask you to please consider it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, can we just restate the motion, because there's been a lot of discussion, just to increase the revenue line?
No, decrease.
Decrease the revenue line.
By $60,000.
Okay.
Motion by legislator Elner. and
Seconded by, okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, we have another comment here. Legislator Goldman.
Voting no does what? Voting yes does what?
Voting, if I could restate?
Please.
Voting no means keeping the $60,000 in the budget as a revenue. Voting yes means taking it out.
Okay.
Legislator Adenizio?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley?
Yes.
Legislator Elner?
Yes.
Legislator Goulman?
Yes.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Does anyone else, any other legislator have anything they would like to bring forward before we go into executive session to discuss Chairman Yonke's proposal? Anyone else? Okay, so.
Oh, I didn't.
We had a motion that was delayed to go into executive session, so we'll go into executive session now, 9:31.
Madam Chair, I just want to let the public know that this is the end of our meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, after our executive session, well, we'll have the opportunity to vote on the.
There will be, well, there may be activity after.
There may be activity because we'll have the opportunity to either. Who did the motions? I think Nancy.
I seconded.
Do I have to make my motion again?
No, your motion is on the floor, you delayed it.
We delayed it until
We
after.
delayed it or withdrew
We
it?
did not withdraw it, we put it towards the end of the
Yeah.
meeting. We're just now going, all in favor? You've already asked all
We're
in favor.
delaying the
to go into
motion.
executive.
Everything was.
All in favor, go to executive session.
Or somebody knows.
Second.
Let's not discuss anything. Let's not
Okay,
discuss
yeah,
anything.
no, we don't have to discuss anything. Nothing was decided.
Pardon me, we gotta take a vote.
Session.
Don't we have to take a vote to come out of exec? Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a motion on the floor. We'll wait for Legislator Montgomery to come back.
So you're still in executive session?
Was that you?
Technically.
Except we didn't see what
Blue flag.
Okay, so nothing was
Nothing was
decided.
discussed.
We didn't vote on anything in executive session.
We didn't talk about
Informational
anything.
only. We do have a motion on the floor.
I'd like to amend my motion, just rather than calling it a homeowner tax relief rebate, I'd just like to call it the homeowner tax relief program, but still in the amount of $6.5 million.
Second.
Second.
To come from to go into sub-contingency,
To go into sub-contingency.
You're amending your
just by name.
motion, okay. Do we have to take a motion? Do we have to vote to amend?
Yeah.
The original motion.
Or you could just withdraw and make a new motion, and I'll second it, whatever's easiest.
Then I'll withdraw and make a new motion. I'd like to make a motion to use the fund balance of $6.5 million to go to sub-contingency for the homeowner tax relief program.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. Legislator.
There's still no resolution that's been presented. You sent it a memo. There's not a resolution there.
Very simple resolution.
There isn't one. It's a memo, not a resolution. We vote on resolutions. I'm not voting on a memo.
This is similar, if I could.
I'm not.
I don't know, we voted on a bunch of them tonight.
It's similar nature to something like this.
I understand, but I'm not voting on a memo, especially at $6 million. It's not happening. It's ridiculous.
So, any further discussion on this? All right, I'll ask for a roll call vote then, please.
Legislator Adamizio?
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham?
Yes.
Legislator Crowley?
No, because it's not prepared and we don't have enough information.
Legislator Elner?
To cut taxes for county people? Yes.
Legislator Coolman?
No, for the reasons I mentioned before, it's too premature, it's a good concept, might be considering the future, but we need guidance from the New York State Controller, we need guidance from possibly the IRS, and we need guidance, and this is not the right time to do this.
Legislator Yonke?
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery?
I vote no, and well justified. I mean, I gave all my reasons earlier, but I really want to do more research to see how this big, beautiful bill is going to affect us. I'd like to talk to my colleagues on the state legislature and the state comptroller's office before I vote on this. So I'm voting no, and interested in exploring it more in the future.
Legislator Russo?
I'm going to vote no. I'd like to get more information.
And Chairwoman Sage?
Yes, I have confidence that we will get more information, and if we don't, it won't be spent.
No harm, no foul.
Yes.
Any further business?
We have no further business. I was just waiting to see if it passed. I was
It
waiting
did,
for the
yeah,
clerk.
she said it
Okay. I was waiting. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is everyone